Chapter 87. Very quickly, an even more powerful aura emanated from Du Xiongwu's body. In just a few minutes, Du Xiongwu's skin and flesh had shrunk a little. Compared to before, he was like a completely different person. If he wore glasses, he would look 70 to 80% similar to Du Xiongwen. The clothes on his body were much looser, and he looked a little funny. The skinny Du Xiongwu's skin had returned to normal. It was not like before, when the blood vessels all over his body protruded out of his skin, making him look like a monster. After completing the upgrade from level 8 to level 9, Du Xiongwu did not immediately attack Yang Tian. Instead, he frowned and picked at his ears. This strange action reminded Yang Tian of the time when he was being chased by Du Xiongwen. After Qin Lao appeared, he also did something similar. A doubt appeared in Yang Tian's mind. At this time, Yang Tian had also upgraded his level and completed a temporary strengthening. At this moment, he felt that his body was filled with incomparable power. It was as if he could destroy a high-speed train with one punch. His 5 senses had also been upgraded to an incredible level. He could even feel the airflow around his body. The subtle movements of the people outside the arena seemed to be in slow motion. Du Xiongwen picked at his ears uncomfortably, then put down his hands and looked coldly at Yang Tian. Suddenly Du Xiongwu moved. His figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Yang Tian. Because his speed was too fast, the friction between his body and the air produced a sound like a bubble bursting. This speed had already surpassed the speed of sound. Moreover, when Du Xiongwu moved, he did not create deep pits in the ground because he had to borrow force from the previous battle. Level 9 warriors had already entered a new realm in terms of the use of power. In just a moment, Du Xiongwu appeared in front of Yang Tian and punched at Yang Tian's chest. His speed was so fast that the level 7 martial artists outside the arena could not see Du Xiongwu's movements clearly. In Yang Tian's eyes, Du Xiongwu's movements did not seem to have changed much compared to when he was a level 8 martial artist. In the face of Du Xiongwu's fast punch, Yang Tian dodged and retreated 5 meters to the side. During this process, Yang Tian was surprised to find that, at the beginning of his movements, as if he was in water, the surrounding air formed a resistance against him. This resistance was like a thin layer of film. The moment he broke through this layer of film, he was first blocked by the film. However, he broke through very quickly. It was as if he had returned to land from the water. He became very free. In the eyes of ordinary people and low-level martial artists, Du Xiongwu seemed to have teleported. He disappeared from his original spot and suddenly appeared in front of Yang Tian. Then, Yang Tian's figure shook and appeared in another place. The level 7 martial artists saw that when Yang Tian and Du Xiongwu were moving, there were afterimages flashing in the path of their movements. Du Xiongwu's punch missed. His body moved and he charged at Yang Tian again. As for Yang Tian, he dodged once again. In the eyes of others, the two of them seemed to have teleported. They suddenly appeared in one place and then suddenly appeared in another place. When Yang Tian and Du Xiongwu moved, their bodies collided with the air, creating a series of dull explosions. During this process, Yang Tian kept dodging. He was not afraid of Du Xiongwu's fists. Instead, he was enjoying a strange feeling. Every time he moved, it was as if he had rushed out of the water. Yang Tian knew that he could not maintain this state for long. However, it was not easy for him to become so strong. He had to experience it slowly. This is so powerful. Zhao Wu, who was watching the battle, saw the two of them flash like teleportation. He opened his mouth wide and murmured. It was not just Zhao Wu. Many of the spectators were so shocked that they could not close their mouth. Xiao Fei and the others were among the martial artists who came to watch the battle. Many of them not only knew Yang Tian but had also fought with Yang Tian before. For example, Zhu Hongyu, Zheng Delong, Qi Sun, Wei Zhong, Zhou Dedeo. Those who wanted to kill Yang Tian back then felt complicated when they saw Yang Tian's skills. A few months ago, Yang Tian could be easily killed in their eyes. Now, if Yang Tian wanted to, he could take their lives in the blink of an eye. They did not even have the chance to resist. We owe him. I guess we can't pay him back in this lifetime, Wei Zhong murmured. The fact that Yang Tian did not kill him and Qi Sun back then had been engraved in their hearts. Qi Sun sighed, and did not say anything. Among the people present, only Qin Lao could clearly see the two's expressions and movements. Seeing Yang Tian deal with it with ease, he could not help but nod his head. It was obvious that he was having fun. There were several times when Du Xiongwu thought that his fist could hit Yang Tian, but Yang Tian dodged at the right time. No matter how hard he tried, all he hit was air. Du Xiongwu could not help but feel anxious. If he continued to waste time with Yang Tian would not even need to make a move. When he ran out of strength and his realm fell rapidly, Yang Tian could kill him with a single finger. He thought that by forcibly raising his realm, he would be able to kill Yang Tian. He did not expect that Yang Tian would use such a method. After a few minutes, Yang Tian stopped enjoying the pleasure of moving quickly and began to treat the battle seriously. Pung! Facing Du Xiongwu's fist again, Yang Tian did not dodge. When Du Xiongwu's fist came at him, he used a blocking punch. This move, in this era, was a move that even a 3-year-old child could use. Yang Tian's left hand pushed Du Xiongwu's fist away. His right hand clenched into a fist and hit Du Xiongwu's chest hard, making a dull noise. Du Xiongwu's body flew diagonally into the sky. His speed was extremely fast, like a cannonball flying out of a cannon barrel in cartoons. Some bad guys were often sent flying by the protagonist. This situation was very similar to the one in cartoons. However, Du Xiongwu did not fly that high. He was only about 30 meters high. When he fell, he smashed into the crowd of onlookers. Fortunately, there was a level 6 warrior nearby who pulled the surrounding people away. After falling to the ground, Du Xiongwu turned over and stood up. He covered his chest and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Yang Tian's attack was not weak. Du Xiongwu was injured again. Yang Tian understood that he was able to injure Du Xiongwu with one punch because Du Xiongwu was injured when he forcibly raised his realm. The effect of the increase was reduced. Many of the onlookers were stunned again. They thought that the battle between two warriors who forcibly raised their realm to level 9 would be very long. They did not expect it to end so suddenly. Chapter 88. I must kill Du Xiongwu. This was Yang Tian's thought at the moment. If it were martial artists like Feng De and Zhu Hongyu, Yang Tian wouldn't kill them. However, Du Xiongwu was different. This person was the same as Su Zhan and Bai Kai. They were the type of people that Yang Tian hated the most. If he let Du Xiongwu live, Yang Tian wouldn't be afraid of him. However, in the future, Du Xiongwu would still cause him a lot of trouble. Picking up the saber from the ground, Yang Tian walked towards Du Xiongwu. When Yang Tian walked out of the arena, the spectators automatically parted to the side. Du Xiongwu stood up and looked coldly at Yang Tian. No! At this moment, a woman's voice sounded. The woman that appeared in front of Yang Tian was the woman that Yang Tian had seen in Yu Wei's office in the martial arts committee that day. She was Zhu Shaoqing, Du Xiongwu's wife. Zhu Shaoqing stood in front of Du Xiongwu and looked at Yang Tian with a pleading expression. Yang Tian looked at Zhu Shaoqing's face and remembered what she had said to him in Yu Wei's office that day. She had said that his life wasn't worth anything and that her son's life was more precious than his. Yang Tian became even angrier. This was the second time that Du Xiongwu had been injured. He no longer had the strength to fight with Yang Tian. He pulled Zhu Shaoqing away and looked coldly at Yang Tian. He said, "Yang Tian, you can kill me, but don't touch my family." Dad, Mom. At this moment, a young woman ran over in a panic and yelled, "Master, you're going to die." This young woman was the daughter of Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing, Du Mei. Looking at the family of three, Yang Tian stopped. Yang Tian knew that as long as he made a move, he could cut off Du Xiongwu's head in the blink of an eye. Among the people present, only Qin Lao could stop him, and Qin Lao certainly wouldn't do that. In other words, as long as Yang Tian was willing, he could take Du Xiongwu's life right now. But looking at the two women protecting Du Xiongwu, Yang Tian couldn't do it, especially when Du Mei appeared. Yang Tian looked coldly at Du Xiongwu's family of three, wondering if he should kill them or not. Little Tian. At this moment, Yang Tian's mother, Wang Hong, walked over. Mom. When Yang Tian heard the familiar voice, he turned around and was surprised to see his mother. He didn't expect his mother to come here at this moment. Let them go, Wang Hong said calmly as she came in front of Yang Tian. Wang Hong was soft-hearted. At the same time, she didn't want to see Yang Tian kill people, so she walked over. All along, Yang Tian was a cheerful and good child in her heart. Yang Tian also didn't want his parents to see him kill people, so he took a deep breath and nodded. Let's go. Let's go back. Yang Tian turned around and helped Wang Hong out of the arena. Whoosh! At this moment, there was a gust of wind. Pft. Then, there was the sound of a sharp blade piercing into a body. They thought that the matter had come to an end, but they didn't expect something like this to happen all of a sudden. At this moment, Du Xiongwu's right hand was grabbed by Yang Tian's left hand, and the blade in Yang Tian's hand had already pierced Du Xiongwu's chest. Many warriors saw the situation clearly. Yang Tian was helping his mother out when Du Xiongwu suddenly moved and appeared behind Yang Tian and his mother. He slapped his palm towards the top of Yang Tian's mother's head. If this palm hit, Yang Tian's mother would definitely die. Yang Tian reacted quickly. He grabbed Du Xiongwu's hand and stabbed the blade in his hand into Du Xiongwu's chest. Yang Tian. Du Xiongwu looked into Yang Tian's eyes and laughed. He spat out a large amount of blood. I've already let you go. Why did you do this? Yang Tian asked with a frown. Yang Tian knew that Du Xiongwu did this on purpose. He didn't want to kill his mother, but he was courting death. That's right. Du Xiongwu was courting death. He wanted Yang Tian to kill him. Looking at Yang Tian's puzzled expression, Du Xiongwu took a few breaths and finally spoke more smoothly. For a warrior, if there's no hope in the realm and you can't take revenge, then what's the point of living? Can't raise your head for the rest of your life and be mocked by others? Yang Tian pulled out his blade and pushed Du Xiongwu away. Ugh! Du Xiongwu fell to the ground and spat out another mouthful of blood. Xiongwu! Dad! At this time, the stunned mother and daughter Zhu Shaoqing and Du Mei came to their senses. They screamed in horror and ran over to help Du Xiongwu up. Wang Hong had never seen such a bloody scene. She hid behind Yang Tian. Du Xiongwu looked at Yang Tian and laughed. Zhu Shaoqing covered the wound on Du Xiongwu's chest. Suddenly, she raised her head and looked at Yang Tian with hatred. Yang Tian killed Zhu Shaoqing's son, Du Feng. Now, he stabbed Du Xiongwu. As a mother and wife, it would be strange if she didn't hate Yang Tian for killing her son and husband. Du Mei also looked at Yang Tian with the same expression. Looking at Zhu Shaoqing and Du Mei's resentful eyes and their expressions that looked like they wanted to cut him into pieces, Yang Tian's mind was filled with some melodramatic TV plots. After he killed Du Xiongwu, Zhu Shaoqing and her mother relied on the connections and resources left by Du Xiongwu to grow into high-level martial artists. They used all kinds of methods to take revenge. In the end, they finally killed him, the ultimate boss, with their blades. Thinking of this situation, Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. Wu. Seeing Yang Tian laugh, Zhu Shaoqing pointed at Yang Tian. She was so angry that she couldn't speak. Suddenly, she cried loudly. If he died so easily, he wouldn't be a martial artist. That stab of mine probably only injured his stomach. He should be able to survive after undergoing surgery in the hospital. Seeing the mother and daughter's heartbroken appearance, Yang Tian shrugged and smiled. Yang Tian was in a hurry and made a reflexive counterattack. At that moment, he realized that Du Xiongwu deliberately bumped into him. Originally, he was going to stab Du Xiongwu's heart. However, he suddenly changed his mind and moved the blade down. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he ignored the three people and walked out with his mother, Wang Hong. At this time, Zhu Shaoqing reacted and immediately shouted, "A few people come and send the dojo master to the hospital. Quick, quick." Although Du Xiongwu was seriously injured, he was still the dojo master of Shunwei Martial Arts Dojo. The few martial artists closest to him immediately ran over and immediately became busy. "Yeah, we're making money. Ha ha." Before he walked out of the martial arts arena, Yang Tian heard Zhao Wu's excited shout behind him. Du Xiongwu's life and death had nothing to do with Zhao Wu and the others. They only knew that Yang Tian won. The odds were 1 to 5. They were rich now. After Zhao Wu's roar, many people immediately waived their gambling tickets and went to find the banker. The martial arts arena was in chaos. There was no longer the austere atmosphere. Chapter 89. Puff. As soon as Yang Tian got in the car, he covered his chest, spat out a mouthful of blood, and fainted. He had forcefully used the power of the Dragon Ball to increase his realm. Now that the time had come, it was time to take effect. Little Tian. Seeing their son vomiting blood and fainting, Yang Lin and Wang Hong were shocked. "Drive to the hospital," Qin Lao, who was sitting in the passenger seat, said with a frown. "Doctor, how is it?" After Yang Tian was sent to the hospital, the doctor used advanced medical equipment to examine Yang Tian's body. Yang Lin and Wang Hong, who had been waiting anxiously for a long time, saw the doctor open the door and asked in unison with a worried look on their faces. The middle-aged doctor who examined Yang Tian smiled and said, "Don't worry, the patient is fine. He will be fine after resting for a while." Hearing the result, Yang Lin and Wang Hong finally breathed a sigh of relief. The next day, Yang Tian woke up and was discharged from the hospital on the third day. This abnormal recovery ability of the body made Yang Tian's attending doctor secretly speechless. After leaving the hospital and returning to Qin Lao's villa, Qin Lao examined Yang Tian's body. Qin Lao's examination method was very simple. He just pinched Yang Tian's arm, and that was it. "Well, your body didn't suffer any damage, and it won't have any impact on your realm improvement." After the examination, Qin Lao said with a smile. Yang Tian had already known this result. He scratched his head and smiled. Qin Lao asked curiously, "When the doctor examined you that day, what was the matter with the scales on your body?" Qin Lao's words shocked Yang Tian. Fortunately, Yang Tian had strong self-control and didn't jump up. How could this be explained? When he left the martial arts arena that day, Yang Tian had dispersed the power of the dragon pearl that maintained the scales on his body. After he fainted, these scales naturally fell off. Yang Tian didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to hold on for long after forcefully raising his realm. After he was sent to the hospital, Qin Lao naturally found out. Yang Tian thought about it and felt that it was better to tell the truth, because this kind of thing couldn't be hidden from Qin Lao. In the past, Qin Lao didn't ask much and Yang Tian didn't need to answer. But now, he had to say it. Because when he married Qin Fei in the future, Qin Fei would also know. At that time, she would definitely tell Qin Lao. If he didn't say it now, Qin Lao would definitely misunderstand that Yang Tian didn't trust him. It's like this. Yang Tian thought for a moment, organized his words, and said, "I have a dragon pet." Dragon pet? Qin Lao was very surprised. He opened his eyes wide and looked at Yang Tian. Yang Tian nodded and smiled at the window. "Xiaolong, why aren't you coming in?" Not long after Yang Tian's voice fell, two squeaks came from outside the window. Then, a green shadow flashed and stopped on Yang Tian's shoulder. After the little blue dragon arrived, it looked at Qin Lao with some vigilance. After all, Qin Lao was a level 9 martial artist. Little blue dragon could feel the aura on Qin Lao's body. When it came to humans, little blue dragon only trusted Yang Tian. Although Qin Lao was old, as a level 9 martial artist, his eyes were naturally sharp. When the little blue dragon stopped on Yang Tian's shoulder, he saw the little blue dragon's entire body clearly. It's really a dragon. Looking at the little blue dragon, Qin Lao stroked his beard and sighed. Last year, I graduated from high school. Yang Tian scratched the little blue dragon's body and began to slowly explain. His speech lasted for half an hour. Yang Tian explained in detail, and Qin Lao listened very seriously. After Yang Tian finished, Qin Lao was silent for a moment. Then he looked at Yang Tian and said, "Little Yang Tian, that is to say, you're not using hidden power, but another kind of energy. Is it the power of the Dragon Ball that you mentioned?" Yang Tian nodded. "Yes. Actually, if I don't use that kind of power, I'm only equivalent to a level 7 martial artist." "What about this little blue dragon? What level is it now?" Qin Lao raised his hand and pointed at the little blue dragon coiled on Yang Tian's shoulder and asked again. "This? I don't know either." Yang Tian shook his head. "Ji." At this time, the little blue dragon cried out. After the little blue dragon finished speaking, Yang Tian smiled and said, "Xiao Long said that it's not an exotic beast." "Not an exotic beast? How is that possible?" Qin Lao was very surprised when he heard this. He stood up, frowned in the room, and walked back and forth. "Grandfather, what's wrong?" In this world where exotic beasts ran rampant, Yang Tian wasn't surprised that the little blue dragon wasn't an exotic beast. Even if an immortal suddenly appeared in the room, Yang Tian would probably be able to accept it calmly and not make a fuss about it. But Qin Lao's reaction, Yang Tian felt that it was strange. Qin Lao didn't pay attention to Yang Tian for a while. After a long time, he sat down, hesitated for a moment, and said to Yang Tian, "The little blue dragon isn't an exotic beast, so I'm not worried. What I'm worried about is size." Old man Qin let out a long sigh as he spoke. It was the first time that Yang Tian saw Qin Lao's distressed look. "Grandfather, you must know a lot of things that I don't know. I really want to know. For example, other than you, where did the other level 9 martial artists go?" Out of curiosity, Yang Tian took this opportunity to ask. Qin Lao looked at Yang Tian and hesitated for a moment. Then, he said to Yang Tian, "You know how the YS virus came about, right?" Yang Tian nodded. Qin Lao said, "Actually, what the Braveheart brought back wasn't just some microorganisms. It also brought back something very mysterious. It's like a door. When the Braveheart returned to Earth, all the electronic equipment on the spaceship suddenly malfunctioned and exploded on the surface of the sea. Everything on the spaceship fell into the deep sea. You know most of the things that happened after that. The animals on Earth mutated and martial artists were born. What many people don't know is that when a martial artist enters the level 9 realm, they will receive a mysterious summon. This kind of summon is like a person whispering in your ear, saying something you don't understand. It's also like a monk chanting sutras, constantly repeating a sutra. In the beginning, it's still refreshing, but after a long time, it becomes unbearable and disturbing. Fortunately, I thought of a solution, which is to restrain all the hidden energy in my body. Only then did the voice in my ear disappear. The disadvantage of doing this is that without the constant nourishment of the hidden energy, my skin will age and become loose. My appearance will be the same as an ordinary person's, showing my actual age. Actually, after reaching the level 9 realm, I can live for more than 300 years and maintain my youthful appearance for a long time. There are actually many level 9 martial artists like me in this world. More level 9 martial artists received the summon and went to that mysterious place, which is where the Braveheart crashed. After they went, there was no news of them. None of them came back. They might still be alive, or they might already be dead. Chapter 90. The brave spaceship that Qin Lao had mentioned was the spaceship that had returned from Mars. Everyone knew that the brave spaceship had brought back a type of microorganism when it had returned. This microorganism was also the source of the YS virus. However, according to Old Man Qin, after the Braveheart returned from Mars, it didn't only bring back microbes, but also a door. Very few people knew about this. After Qin Lao finished speaking, he looked at the shocked Yang Tian and said, "When you become a level 9 martialist, you will face the same choice as me. Whether you choose to enter that door or stay behind like this old man, it's all up to you. If it wasn't for Xiao Fei." Qin Lao paused and took a deep look at the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder. He then stood up and walked out. Yang Tian was unable to calm down for a long time. What Qin Lao had told him had shocked him too much. This had changed Yang Tian's understanding of this world. In Yang Tian's mind, there had always been beasts and martialists. However, from the looks of it, things weren't that simple. "Xiaolong, do you know where it is?" Yang Tian asked the little blue dragon, as he came back to his senses more than 10 minutes after Qin Lao left. Yang Tian was very curious about the mysterious summoning. "Cheep cheep cheep," the little blue dragon squeaked, telling Yang Tian that it didn't know about this. Yang Tian smiled helplessly. When the little blue dragon had come out of the egg, he had been right in front of it. How could he have known about this? It looked like he would only have the opportunity to come into contact with this mysterious summoning after he had truly become a level 9 martialist. He had to raise his realm to level 9 as soon as possible. Yang Tian looked out the window and clenched his fists tightly. Everything that Qin Lao had said made Yang Tian vaguely feel that level 9 martialists were not the pinnacle of a martialist's realm. If there were beasts that surpassed level 9, then martialists could definitely surpass level 9 as well. Woo woo. At that moment, the little unicorn opened the door with its head and ran in. It stopped in front of Yang Tian and squeaked intimately. When he saw the little unicorn, Yang Tian couldn't help but think of his girlfriend, Qin Fei, and the matter of going to Hero City. Before that, he still had many things to settle. After killing a pack of wolves with Mark, Yang Tian obtained 16 rank 1 beast cores, 10 rank 2 beast cores, 8 rank 3 beast cores, 6 rank 4 beast cores, and 2 rank 5 beast cores. After feeding the little unicorn a rank 1 beast core, Yang Tian was left with a total of 41 beast cores. He planned to leave a portion for the little unicorn and sell the rest for money. Although humans were still trapped in the safe zone, they couldn't live without money if they wanted to enjoy a good life. As for the remaining beast cores, Yang Tian wanted to keep them for himself, especially when he was injured. Also, the dragon orb in his body needed to absorb more energy to recover to its original state. Little Unicorn had already completely digested the energy from the level 1 beast cores. It had been growing very quickly these few days. After Yang Tian took out the beast cores, he picked out a level 2 beast core and put it into Little Unicorn's mouth. Woo woo! After swallowing the level 2 beast core, Little Unicorn happily hummed twice and jumped onto Yang Tian's bed. It entered a short sleep to digest the energy from the level 2 beast core. Xiaolong, look after it. I'm going out for a while. Yang Tian put the beast cores into a small backpack and said to the little blue dragon. Squeak squeak. The little azure dragon let out a cry of grievance and agreed. The little blue dragon wasn't suited to stay in a human city. To it was like being locked in a cage. It wasn't very free. It wanted to go out into the wild and be free. Although Yang Tian had already told Qin Lao about this matter, Yang Tian and the little blue dragon didn't want more people to know about the existence of the little blue dragon. Yang Tian carried his backpack and sword and walked out of the room. He then said goodbye to his parents and left Qin Lao's villa. After leaving the villa, Yang Tian called for a car and asked the driver to drive him to the city gate. After paying the driver, he quickly left the city. In the city hospital, Du Xiongwu had already undergone surgery. The strong recovery ability of a martial artist allowed Du Xiongwu to get out of bed and walk around. At this time, in Du Xiongwu's exclusive ward, Du Xiongwu's wife, Zhu Shaoqing, and Du Xiongwu's two sons, Du Cheng and Dui, as well as his daughter, Du Mei, were all in the ward. "Dad, what should we do now?" Du Cheng looked at Du Xiongwu lying on the hospital bed and asked with a frown. Ever since he forcibly increased his realm and was defeated by Yang Tian, Du Xiongwu's realm had fallen to level 6. Obviously, he could no longer be the master of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. Du Cheng asked about future plans. Du Xiongwu thought for a while and said faintly, "Pack your things. We'll leave Tianxiong City and go to Hero City." Du Xiongwu had accumulated a lot of wealth during his years as the master of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. It wouldn't be a problem for him to live a luxurious life in Hero City. Moreover, Du Xiongwu's younger brother, Du Xiongwen, was also in Hero City. They could look after each other there. After Du Xiongwen was defeated by Qin Lao didn't allow him to return to Tianxiong City. Now, he was living in Hero City. Hearing that they were leaving, Zhu Shaoqing looked at Du Xiongwu and asked, "When will we get our revenge?" Yang Tian had killed Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing's son, Du Feng. Now, he had forced Du Xiongwu to be demoted. How could Zhu Shaoqing forget this kind of deep hatred? The matter of Yang Tian letting Du Xiongwu off last time had long been thrown to the back of her mind. She had long forgotten the scene of her begging Yang Tian for mercy during the martial arts competition. Besides Zhu Shaoqing, Du Xiongwu, Du Cheng, Dui, and Du Mei all had looks of hatred on their faces. Although they hated him, they couldn't do anything to Yang Tian. "As long as you're alive, there will always be a chance." Du Xiongwu glanced at his two sons. "This revenge will depend on the two of you. As long as you're alive, there will always be a chance." When Du Xiongwu said this, there was a helpless tone in his voice. Yang Tian didn't expect that after letting Du Xiongwu off, the hatred between him and the Du family would be resolved. It was just that he didn't want his parents to see him kill Du Xiongwu that day, so he let Du Xiongwu go. Compared to Du Xiongwu's life, Yang Tian felt that his parents were more important. If his mother hadn't come out, Yang Tian would have definitely killed Du Xiongwu, because Du Xiongwu's methods were too despicable. Yang Dao left the city and walked around the city walls. Finally, he found the place where he had purchased the beast cores. After opening the tent and entering, Yang Tian saw the short-haired man in camouflage clothing. "Welcome." After seeing Yang Tian, the short-haired man smiled and greeted him. The light in the tent was very dim. The short-haired man only recognized Yang Tian when he got closer. "Yang Tian. Young Master Yang." After seeing Yang Tian's face clearly, the short-haired man exclaimed in surprise. "How do you know my name?" Yang Tian was a little surprised. When he had sold the beast cores and bought the saber, he hadn't mentioned his name. The short-haired man smiled and said, "Who in the entire Tianxiong city doesn't know you now? Although I'm not a martial artist, I've interacted with martial artists. Naturally, I know that young Master Yang has shown his prowess and defeated Du Xiongwu." Yang Tian nodded. When he had alighted at the city gate, many people had noticed Yang Tian and stared at him on the way here. Of course, this was because of the martial artist's arrest order and the battle with Du Xiongwu. Many people recognized Yang Tian. "Young Master Yang, welcome to our shop again. Do you want to sell beast cores this time? Or do you need to buy something?" The short-haired man gestured for him to enter. The furnishings in the tent were basically the same as before. However, the beautiful woman behind the counter was no longer there. Yang Tian stopped by the counter, put down the saber in his hand, and unzipped his backpack. He took out all the beast cores and placed them on the counter. He smiled and said, "I want to sell these beast cores." Seeing so many beast cores, the short-haired man's eyes lit up and he smiled. This was a big business deal. If he succeeded, he would get a lot of commission. The short-haired man counted the beast cores that Yang Tian had taken out. There were 10 level 1 beast cores, 5 level 2 beast cores, 4 level 3 beast cores, and 4 level 4 beast cores. There were a total of 23 beast cores. According to the calculation of 1 million martial coins for each level 1 beast core, 5 million for each level 2 beast core, 10 million for each level 3 beast core, and 50 million for each level 4 beast core, the total value of these beast cores was 275 million martial coins. After checking that there were no problems with the beast cores, the short-haired man nodded to the beautiful woman behind the counter, indicating that he could transfer the money. Yang Tian did not need the beautiful woman's reminder. He handed over his bank account number. The beautiful woman had a pretty face and a good figure. After she took the bank account number from Yang Tian, she looked at Yang Tian affectionately. It was rare to sell beast cores that cost over 100 million martial coins in one go. Although she did not know who Yang Tian was, she knew that if she could get close to him, she would not have to work so hard anymore. However, she did not see any hope in Yang Tian's eyes. The beautiful woman transferred the money to Yang Tian while feeling dejected. Of course, Yang Tian knew what this woman was thinking just by looking at her. However, Yang Tian was not interested in a woman like her. Yang Tian smiled and nodded when he saw that his martial artist assistance device had received a transfer notification from the bank. With a net worth of 200 million, he could be considered a rich man in Tianxiong City. He could buy a better villa in the villa district. Yang Tian felt embarrassed to stay at Qin Lao's place all the time, even though they would become a family in the future. Yang Tian had come here to sell the beast cores because he did not have to pay taxes outside the city. A transaction of 1 or 2 million martial coins did not cost him much. However, a transaction of 200 million martial coins would cost him almost 20 million. It was not worth it. "Young Master Yang, is there anything else you need?" the short-haired man asked with a smile after completing the transfer. Yang Tian pulled out his saber and looked at it. He said to the short-haired man, "This saber is a little light now. Do you have any heavier ones?" The short-haired man shook his head and said helplessly, "I only have standard sabers. If you need any, you'll have to go to the weapon shop in the city to order one." "Alright. I don't have anything else to buy. Goodbye," Yang Tian said and walked out. "Young Master Yang, take care. Come again next time," the short-haired man said with a smile. At that moment, the beautiful woman in front of the counter looked at Yang Tian bitterly. Yang Tian had not looked at her since the beginning. After selling the beast cores, Yang Tian went straight back to the city. Chapter 91. After returning to the city, Yang Tian sent a message to Xiao Fei and invited him to drink at Earthly Paradise. Yang Tian would treat them. Aside from inviting Xiao Fei and the rest, Yang Tian also contacted Zhou Hao. Xiao Fei and Zhou Hao agreed without hesitation. They agreed to drink until they were drunk that night. After meeting Xiao Fei and the rest, Yang Tian went to a shop in Tianxiong City that specialized in custom-made weapons. The shop was called the Edge Forge. It wasn't big, but the decorations were exquisite. There were even beautiful receptionists. "Hello!" The moment Yang Tian entered, the beautiful receptionist came up to him and greeted him warmly. Yang Tian had a backpack slung over his shoulder and a saber in his hand. It was obvious that he was a martial artist. Yang Tian nodded at the passionate receptionist and said, "I would like to custom-make a saber." The beautiful receptionist led Yang Tian to the back of the shop, where there was a design room. "I didn't expect them to be so professional." After entering the design room, Yang Tian glanced at the furnishings inside and thought. The design room was much bigger than the shop outside. There was a huge weapon rack in the room, filled with models of all kinds of weapons. Most of them were made of wood. There was also a measuring machine that specialized in measuring the human body. A middle-aged man, who claimed to be a weapon designer, came up to him. Yang Tian had thought that it would be easy to make a saber. However, after he said what he wanted, the middle-aged man used a measuring machine to measure his height, weight, and arm length. He also asked a few other questions, such as the weight range of the weapon Yang Tian wanted, and what kind of battle techniques he wanted to use. After that, the middle-aged man drew a model on the computer and calculated a series of numbers based on Yang Tian's body values and the information that Yang Dao had given him. Next up was the question of the price. 20 million martial coins. Yang Tian was shocked when he heard the price. That's too expensive. The sabers that Yang Tian was currently using didn't even cost more than 1 million martial coins. However, the middle-aged designer said, "It's not expensive at all. When the weapon is made and you use it, you'll feel that it's worth it." Yang Tian shook his head. Although he had just sold the beast cores and earned more than 200 million martial coins, he did not have the mentality of a nouveau riche. He truly felt that it was too expensive. Seeing the expression on Yang Tian's face, the middle-aged designer smiled and said, "The price of YT elements has risen tremendously. Compared to half a year ago, it has increased by 5 times. According to your needs, the cost of materials alone is close to 10 million yuan. The materials are so expensive. It can't be, right?" Yang was in disbelief. The middle-aged designer smiled and said, "You may not know this, but the YT element added to the knife you're using has reached the maximum value of YT element alloy in order to achieve the corresponding weight. It's more than 3 times the weight of ordinary YT element alloy. There's also the cost of labor and transportation during the forging process. There's still a certain amount of risk involved in this process. If there's an accident during the forging process, such as an unreasonable amount of YT element being added, or if the length or width of the knife exceeded the margin of error, not only will we not make any money, but we'll also have to pay a huge price. If you don't believe me, you can go to other shops and take a look." After the middle-aged designer finished speaking, he looked at Yang Tian expectantly. Yang Tian felt that he still needed to think about it before making a decision. He wasn't stingy, but the environment that he grew up in made him very careful when it came to spending money. Although he already had more than 200 million martial coins in his bank card, he was still very cautious. At that moment, the sound of footsteps came from outside. Yang Tian turned around. The beautiful receptionist who had brought Yang Tian here earlier had brought in 2 more people. The one who came was someone Yang Tian was familiar with, Zhao Shuangxing. Beside Zhao Shuangxing was a young woman in black who carried a bag. Yang Tian had seen this woman before and knew that she had a white mouse as her pet beast. "Yang Tian, I didn't expect to see you here." Zhao Shuangxing couldn't help but smile when he saw Yang Tian. Yang Tian smiled and said, "Brother Zhao, what a coincidence." After walking in front of Yang Tian, Zhao Shuangxing saw the blueprint on the computer screen and asked, "Are you here to customize a weapon?" Yang Tian nodded. "I didn't expect custom-made weapons to be so expensive. A knife that weighs more than 15 kilograms actually costs 20 million. Zhao Shuangxing smiled and said, 20 million isn't expensive. "Mr. Zhao, you're here. The weapon that you ordered last time is ready." At this moment, the middle-aged designer said with a smile. Zhao Shuangxing nodded at the designer. The designer didn't ask his apprentice to do it. Instead, he personally opened a large safe in the design room and took out a long wooden box. He placed it on a wide table in the design room. The designer opened the box to reveal a silver-white handgun. Zhao Shuangxing took out the short spear from the box. First, he weighed it in his hand. Then, he rotated the end of the spear. With a "ka" sound, the short spear suddenly elongated, turning into a 2-meter-long spear. Wu Wu. Zhao Shuangxing shook the handle of the spear a few times and nodded in satisfaction. How much is this gun? Yang Tian asked curiously. Zhao Shuangxing smiled and said, 40 million. If it was half a year ago, it would be more than 10 million. The main reason is that the price of the materials has increased. Also, weapons with mechanisms like this are complicated to make, so it's much more expensive. Only then did Yang Tian realize that the designer wasn't trying to rip him off with the price. Yang Tian didn't want to go to any other shop. He turned around and said to the designer, just make it according to this blueprint. Yang Tian changed his mind. The designer smiled happily. In fact, he rarely received orders for weapons that cost more than 10 million. Of course, he had to pay in advance to order a weapon. Yang Tian took out his bank card and made a down payment of 10 million. The remaining 10 million would be paid when he received the goods. Yang Tian, are you free tonight? After leaving the shop, Zhao Shuangxing smiled and asked Yang Tian. Yang Tian guessed that Zhao Shuangxing wanted to treat him to a meal, but he had an appointment tonight. He could only shake his head apologetically. I have an appointment with Brother Xiao and the others. Why don't you come too, Brother Zhao? The more the merrier. Zhao Shuangxing smiled and nodded. Yang Tian turned around and said to the woman in black standing beside Zhao Shuangxing, let's go together, beauty. Zhao Shuangxing said, I forgot to introduce you. This is my disciple, Zhu Yu, a level 3 martial artist. Brother Yang, it's nice to meet you. Zhu Yu reached out her hand and smiled at Yang Tian. Me too. Yang Tian reached out and shook hands with Zhu Yu. I still have some things to deal with. See you at Heaven on Earth at 8 o'clock. After letting go of Zhu Yu's hand, Yang Tian smiled and said to the two, okay. Zhao Shuangxing nodded. He doesn't look like a level 8 martial artist at all. He doesn't have any airs at all. Looking at Yang Tian in the distance, Zhu Yu smiled and said. Zhao Shuangxing nodded, but smiled bitterly and said, I don't think he will join our Tianwei martial arts hall again. What a pity! Chapter 92. It was already noon when they returned to Qin Lao's villa. After lunch, Yang Tian took his parents to the sales department of the villa area. Now that he had money, Yang Tian's wish to buy a villa could finally be realized. When he was still in school, Yang Tian was especially envious of the rich people who lived in the villa area, because living here was not only comfortable, but also the safest place in the city. The price of a villa was very expensive. The sales lady introduced more than 10 villas to Yang Tian. Several of them had been lived in by others, so the price was relatively cheaper. However, the cheapest one cost more than 70 million. One of the biggest villas was worth more than 130 million. The owner had just entrusted it to be sold. Yang Tian didn't want to live in an old villa. He casually asked and found out that it was the villa that Du Xiongwu's family wanted to sell. Du Xiongwu was no longer a level 8 martial artist. Naturally, he was no longer qualified to be the master of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. He took the initiative to resign and wanted to leave Tianxiong City with his family. The villa that Du Xiongwu wanted to sell was several times larger than the villa that Qin Lao lived in. It had all kinds of facilities. If Du Xiongwu's family hadn't lived in it before, Yang Tian would be interested. However, after knowing, he decided to buy a new one. Little Tian, we don't have many people in our family. Just buy a smaller one. After looking at the villa model, Wang Hong frowned and said, for her, villas that cost tens of millions or hundreds of millions were too expensive. She felt that the house she bought before was good enough. Yang Lin smiled and said, it's okay if it's bigger. Little Tian, when you get married in the future, you have to raise children and hire servants. If the house is small, it won't be enough. It's better to buy a bigger one this time. Yang Lin's opinion was the same as Yang Tian's. It was worth it to spend more money to live in a comfortable and safe place. Mom, Dad is right. Let's choose this one. Yang Tian said and chose a new villa. This villa was only about 2 kilometers away from Qin Lao's place. It was well equipped and even had a spacious basement. The basement was perfect for storing important things. If necessary, it could be converted into a small training room. Seeing that her son had made up his mind, Wang Hong didn't say anything else. Of course, just looking at the model was not enough. Under the guidance of the sales lady, Yang Tian toured the place. This villa had a total of 3 floors, and its appearance was relatively beautiful. There were courtyards in the front and back. Although it was newly built, the interior had been meticulously renovated. As long as some furniture was added, it could be lived in. Yang Tian observed for a while and found no signs of occupancy, so he decided to buy it. After some bargaining, Yang Tian paid 120 million martial coins in one go. This price was much higher than Yang Tian had expected. After paying, the family of 3 returned to the villa and began to discuss how to decorate. Seeing his parents happily discussing which room to live in, which room to leave for Yang Tian and Qin Fei, and where to hire servants to live in the future, Yang Tian felt a strong sense of accomplishment. He had finally achieved half of his goal of becoming a martial artist and letting his family live a stable and happy life. Xiao Tian, hurry up and bring your wife back. You're not young anymore. It's time for you to get married. We're waiting to hold our grandchildren. Hearing his mother's nagging again, Yang Tian quickly said, Mom, I know. I'll go to Hero City in a few days and bring Xiao Fei back. Now that we have a house, let's go and buy 2 cars. After that, Yang Tian left the villa area with his parents. He spent more than 1 million martial coins to buy a black off-road vehicle and a white car. Before there were no exotic beasts, one had to get a driver's license to drive. Now, however, one could drive as long as they didn't hit anyone. As for the cars, they were all of the same brand. There was no choice at all. Tianxiong City covered an area of several hundred square kilometers. With such a large area, it was much more convenient to move around in the city with a car. After buying furniture in the city and decorating the villa simply, it was already dark. Yang Tian drove the off-road vehicle he just bought and arrived at the entrance of heaven on earth. The sky had just turned dark, but the entrance of the city's most high-end entertainment place was already filled with cars. Rich people and beautiful women were going in and out. It was the busiest place in the city. After Yang Tian parked the car, he walked through the entrance of heaven on earth. Xiao Fei was the most familiar with heaven on earth. He had already booked a KTV room that could accommodate dozens of people. Yang Tian arrived on time. It was 7:50 p.m. When he walked into the room, he realized that everyone he had arranged to meet was already there. Xiao Fei's group of 7, Zhou Hao and his girlfriend Li Yan, Zhao Shuangxing, and Zhu Yu were all there. Other than these people, there were more than 10 beautiful women accompanying the guests. A young woman who was good at singing was drinking on the stage. When Yang Tian walked in, they all stood up. Xiao Fei smiled and pulled Yang Tian to sit beside him. He waved his hand towards the stage, and the beautiful woman stopped singing and lowered the volume of the music. We knew that you would be fine. You're finally fine now. Come, let's have a toast to celebrate. After Yang Tian greeted his friends one by one, Xiao Fei picked up the wine that he had poured earlier and said with a smile. They all stood up and downed a cup of fiery liquor. This wine is really strong. After burping and putting down the glass, Yang Tian smiled bitterly. After drinking this glass of wine, his face turned red. Xiao Fei laughed. Didn't we agree on this? We're not going home until we're drunk. Next, everyone at the table drank while talking about Yang Tian's matters in the past 6 months. When the wine was almost finished, Zhao Shuangxing looked at Yang Tian and asked with a smile, Yang Tian, have you ever considered returning to our Xunwei martial arts hall? When Zhao Shuangxing asked this question, except for Yang Tian, Xiao Fei, Zhou Feng, Zhao Wu, and Zhou Hao didn't have a surprised expression on their faces. They all looked at Yang Tian with anticipation in their eyes. Yang Tian knew that Xiao Fei and the others had already discussed this matter before he came. Although he drank half a liter of strong wine, Yang Tian's mind was still very clear. After thinking for a while, he said, I know that the Tianwei Martial Arts Hall was forced to expel me. Later on, I also thought about this issue. After thinking about it, I felt that it's better to be alone and not join the martial arts hall. For others, joining the martial arts hall was a must. This was because people could only rely on the martial arts hall and the strength of a team to steadily increase their strength step by step. But for Yang Tian, this was completely unnecessary. He had the little blue dragon, so the path of a martial artist was destined to be different from others. It was more suitable for him to walk alone. When Yang Tian received Zhao Wu and Xiao Fei's invitation, it was because Xiao Fei had helped him before and it wasn't good to refuse. On the other hand, it was because he was curious about the martial arts hall. What happened later made Yang Tian understand that there was no need for that. Seeing Yang Tian refuse, Zhao Shuangxing sighed helplessly and seemed a little disappointed. A level 8 martial artist was a top expert in this world and was the target of all the martial arts halls. Zhao Shuangxing mentioned this matter to Yang Tian because of the Tianwei Martial Arts Hall's Shuiyun. Everyone, don't just stand there, come. Let's continue drinking. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little cold, Xiao Fei raised his glass again. Chapter 93. When Yang Tian did not use the power of the dragon orb, he was only equivalent to a level 7 martial artist. His alcohol tolerance was not very good. Soon, he was drunk. This was the first time in his life that Yang Tian was drunk. Other than Zhao Shuangxing and Zhu Yu, Xiao Fei, Zhou Hao, and the others were also drunk. Looking at those lying on the tables, those lying on the chairs, and those under the tables, Zhao Shuangxing could not help but smile bitterly. What should we do now? They are all drunk. Zhu Yu looked at the group of drunk people in front of her and smiled bitterly. Zhao Shuangxing said, Someone will take care of it. We are almost done drinking. Let's go. Zhu Yu nodded her head. Zhao Shuangxing waved her hand to call over the hostesses and asked them to take care of Yang Tian and the others. Then, she stood up and walked out of the private room with Zhu Yu. Zhao Shuangxing did not have to worry about the safety of Yang Tian and the others at all. This was heaven on earth. The martial artists were in charge of security and the management was very strict. After Zhao Shuangxing and Zhu Yu left the private room, they went to the service counter and paid for the drinks and hostesses. As for the private room rental, Xiao Fei had already paid for it. 3 million, why is it so expensive? After paying, Zhu Yu stuck out her tongue and said, 3 million martial coins was not even enough to sell 3 level 1 beast cores. She did not expect to spend so much money on a meal with more than 10 people. Zhao Shuangxing smiled and said, Didn't you see that Xiao Fei ordered Fiery Flame which costs 30,000 a bottle? Also, those hostesses are the prettiest here. Plus, they are all hostesses. Each of them costs 200,000 martial coins a night. They are all a bunch of perverts. After Zhao Shuangxing finished speaking, Zhu Yu snorted. Only then did she remember that those young women in the private room had exquisite faces and great figures. Compared to those women with her petite figure. At 6:00 in the morning, Yang Tian woke up on time. When he opened his eyes, Yang Tian was still in a daze. But soon, he sat up because this room was very unfamiliar. At this moment, a woman's sleep-talking voice came from the side. Yang Tian's eyes widened as he turned around to take a look. A woman with long hair was facing away from him, revealing her smooth back. Yang Tian immediately reacted and realized what had happened. He lifted the pink brocade quilt and saw his naked body. The woman beside him with her back to him was also completely naked. Last night, Yang Tian held his forehead as he recalled what had happened last night. He knew that he had gotten drunk in the end. Then, in a daze, Yang Tian couldn't remember what happened after that. Yang Tian frowned and patted the shoulder of the young woman beside him. The young woman soon woke up. "Sir, you're awake." The young woman turned around and rubbed her eyes. She quickly sobered up and looked at Yang Tian with a smile. "What happened last night?" Yang Tian asked unhappily. Although this woman was good-looking, Yang Tian still felt a little uncomfortable, even though he was a man. The young woman thought for a moment and said, "You were drunk last night, so I helped you to this room." Then what?" Yang Tian asked again. "We went to sleep," the young woman replied in a matter-of-fact tone. Yang Tian said helplessly, "I'm asking, did we do anything last night?" The young woman was in this line of work. She immediately understood Yang Tian's meaning and said with a smile, "No. But in order to make more money, I stayed. I only took off my clothes. Because your body was dirty." After the young woman finished speaking, Yang Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief. He thought to himself that he didn't do anything wrong to Qin Fei. "Drinking makes things worse. I'll never get drunk again," Yang Tian muttered. He casually put on the clothes on the bedside table that reeked of alcohol, opened the door, and walked out. After leaving heaven on earth, Yang Tian drove home. "Why didn't you come back last night?" Wang Hong asked when she saw Yang Tian returning to the newly bought villa. Yang Tian felt a little guilty and quickly said, "I got drunk last night and stayed at a friend's house." Wang Hong didn't suspect anything and said, "You smell like alcohol. Go take a shower and change into clean clothes." After taking a shower and changing into clean clothes, Yang Tian took out his satellite phone and dialed Qin Fei's number. At this time, it was morning in Yang Tian's place. On the other side of Earth, it was probably evening or night. Qin Fei's class had already ended. The phone rang a few times before it was connected. Qin Fei's happy voice came through, "Good morning, Yang Tian." Yang Tian smiled and said, "Xiao Fei, I've decided. I'll set off from Tianxiong City tomorrow. I'll reach Hero City in a month at the latest." "Really?" Qin Fei asked happily when she heard that. Yang Tian nodded. "Yes. I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you very much." Qin Fei said, "Then you have to be careful. There will be many exotic beasts along the way, even though you're already a level 8 martial artist." Yang Tian smiled and said, "Don't worry. Oh right. I've prepared a gift for you." "What gift?" Qin Fei asked curiously. Yang Tian chuckled. "It's a secret now. You'll know when I get there. I promise you'll like it." The two chatted for a full hour before reluctantly hanging up the phone. After tidying up his house, Yang Tian went out and walked to Qin Lao's house. "Grandpa, I'm planning to go to Hero City tomorrow," Yang Tian said after seeing Qin Lao. Ever since he came back, old Qin had asked Yang Tian to remove the word Qin from his name and directly call him Grandpa. Of course, Yang Tian was willing to do so. Anyway, after marrying Qin Fei in the future, he would also call old Qin that way. Qin Lao nodded and looked at Yang Tian. "There's no rush for you to get married. It's best to wait until Xiao Fei graduate. Of course, this is Grandpa's suggestion. If Xiao Fei agrees, Grandpa and Xiao Fei's parents won't have any objections." After Qin Lao finished speaking, Yang Tian scratched his head in embarrassment. Bolia University was a 3-year program. Qin Fei would graduate in 2 years. Waiting for 2 years was nothing. Yang Tian knew that although Qin Lao said it tactfully, the meaning was very clear. He wanted Yang Tian to wait for Qin Fei to graduate before discussing the marriage. Qin Lao didn't object to Yang Tian looking for Qin Fei, which was equivalent to tacitly agreeing to their relationship before marriage. From Qin Lao's words, Yang Tian also knew that Qin Fei's parents had agreed. Before Yang Tian became a martial artist, Yang Tian didn't have such treatment. Even Qin Fei's parents, who were originally opposed to this, had no objections. Of course, this was because Yang Tian had become a level 8 martial artist. Xiao Tian, how do you plan to go to Hero City? Meanwhile, Old Man Qin asked again. How? Yang Tian smiled. I'll take a short supersonic plane. Qin Lao shook his head. I suggest you walk to Hero City. Walk? It's separated by the sea. How do I get there? Yang Tian's eyes widened in confusion. Qin Lao knew that Yang Tian didn't understand what he meant. He smiled and said, set off from Tianxiong City, go all the way north, pass through Russia, then go west and cross the English Channel. Won't you arrive there? Hero City was originally in the middle of England. Why? Won't it take a long time? I told Xiao Fei that I would arrive within a month. Yang Tian asked again. Qin Lao said, this is an experience on foot. When you reach Hero City, you might be a level 9 martial artist. Chapter 94. A level 9 martial artist. This was what Yang Tian had hoped for. Facing Qin Lao's expectant gaze, Yang Tian nodded vigorously. Qin Lao smiled and said, be careful on the road. Grandpa has prepared something for you. After Qin Lao finished speaking, Steward Wu walked over with a silver-white box. When he arrived in front of Yang Tian, Steward Wu opened the box. Inside was a set of black armor. Qin Lao smiled and said, this set of armor was made from the winged serpent skin that you brought back. Although your own defensive capabilities are not bad, after wearing this set of armor, your safety is even more guaranteed. Come, try it on. This set of black armor was not as gorgeous as the armor that Yang Tian had seen Qi Sun and Wei Zhong wearing before. Furthermore, it did not have a helmet. Yang Tian's clothes were very thin, so he did not need to take them off. He quickly put on the armor. Not bad. The size is just right. After seeing Yang Tian put on the black armor, Qin Lao stroked his beard and smiled with satisfaction. This type of armor was completely different from the armor of the ancient times. Because it was made from the winged serpent's soft fur, in addition to the intricate alloy buckles, it could be tightly fitted to the body and accentuated Yang Tian's well-built figure. You have already ordered your own weapon, so Grandpa did not prepare anything for you. However, this is what you need. As Qin Lao spoke, he took out a piece of paper from his inner pocket and unfolded it in front of Yang Tian. It was actually a map. Yang Tian took it from Qin Lao. There was a thick, curvy line on the map. Around the thick line were the names of the various safety cities. Further away from the thick line were some small circles. In the small circles were the names of some high-level exotic beasts. The thick line on the map started from Tianxiong City and went north, then west, all the way to Hero City. Yang Tian looked at it and knew that Qin Lao had prepared this picture for him. With such a map, Yang Tian had an obvious route forward, unlike before, when he could only use the satellite map on the intelligent auxiliary device to move forward randomly. Thank you, Grandpa. In this way, I have a clear route forward. After Yang Tian looked at the map, he folded it and put it away with a smile. Actually, this route is the most dangerous one, Qin Lao said. Once you kill all the high-level beasts along the way, you'll be as rich as a country by the time you reach Hero City. You'll also become a true level 9 martialist. Yang Tian nodded. The most dangerous route? Yang Tian wasn't afraid at all. There was not a single level 9 exotic beast on this route, but there were quite a number of level 7 and level 8 exotic beasts. If the information of such exotic beasts were to be sold online, it would cost at least a few 100 million martial coins. This was the value of information about exotic beasts. Yang Tian knew that this might be Qin Lao's way of testing him. Previously, Yang Tian had received Qin Lao's hint to go to the danger zone to train. That was how he had achieved his current achievements. Of course, the little blue dragon's help was even greater. To Yang Tian, this was a kind of pressure, but it was also a kind of motivation. After leaving Qin Lao's villa, Yang Tian went straight home and started to pack his things. Yang Tian didn't tell his parents about this training, as he was afraid that they would be worried. Wang Hong happily helped Yang Tian pack his things, while Yang Lin watched from the side with a face full of smiles. After packing his things, Yang Tian went out again and bought a lot of survival necessities, filling up a huge backpack. After he was ready to set off, Yang Tian called Qin Fei and told her that he was going to walk to Hero City. Qin Fei grew up in a family of martial artists, so she was very understanding. Although she was disappointed, she still encouraged Yang Tian and told him that she would wait for him at Hero City. At around 6 in the morning, Yang Tian bade farewell to his parents and left home with Little Unicorn. After the Little Unicorn swallowed the level 2 beast core and digested it, its wings had grown out and were furry. It was estimated that after a period of time, after swallowing the level 3 beast core, its wings would grow out and it would be able to fly in the sky. This time, Yang Tian naturally had to bring Little Unicorn with him. When they reached the English Channel, he could sit on Little Unicorn's back and fly across. Beasts grew to adulthood much faster than humans. Yang Tian first went to the edge casting ground. In just 2 days, Yang Tian's custom-made sword was completed. Because Yang Tian had urged them to hurry, the people in the edge casting ground had to work overtime to rush it out. This custom-made Tang Dao was about 10 centimeters longer than the previous one. The blade was also wider and thicker. It weighed 52 kilograms, more than twice the weight of the previous one. The previous Tang Dao had been placed in the basement of the villa by Yang Tian. It was something worth treasuring. An ordinary person would not be able to wield such a heavy sword, but when Yang Tian held it in his hand, he felt very comfortable. Yang Tian pulled the sword out of the sheath. The blade was very smooth, but it did not glow. The material looked much finer than before. Yang Tian bent his finger and flicked the blade, letting out a soft hum. The middle-aged designer smiled. The largest proportion of YT elemental alloy is used. It is already the toughest and most flexible sword in the world. Because the material is finer and smoother, it won't be stained with blood. As the designer spoke, he took a needle and pricked his finger. He squeezed out a drop of blood and let it fall on the blade. Just as the designer said, the blade would not be stained with blood. When the drop of blood fell on the blade, it turned into a bead of blood and rolled down the blade. Yang Tian was very happy. When he paid for the sword, he paid an extra 1 million yuan. After leaving the edge casting ground, Yang Tian went straight to the northern gate. Yang Tian had already informed Xiao Fei and the others about this matter. Xiao Fei and the others were already waiting at the gate. They knew that Yang Tian was going on a long journey, so they came to send him off. After saying goodbye to Xiao Fei and the others, Yang Tian went straight north. After leaving the city, Yang Tian no longer felt depressed about leaving home. Instead, he was filled with fighting spirit. According to the route that Qin Lao had given him, Yang Tian estimated that it would take him more than a year to complete it. By the time he reached Hero City and stayed there for a while, Qin Fei would have graduated. Yang Tian felt that the reason old Qin asked him to do this, other than to let him gain experience, there was another purpose, and that was to stall for time. Of course, this was only Yang Tian's guess, and he was not sure. Master, what if Yang Tian doesn't become a rank 9 warrior when he reaches Hero City? What should we do then? Qin Lao and steward Wu Fang stood on top of the northern gate's wall. Wu Fang looked worried when he saw that Yang Tian's figure had already become a black dot in the distance. Wu Fang didn't know that Yang Tian had a dragon pet, so of course he was worried. Qin Lao was full of confidence in Yang Tian. He smiled and said, "He will definitely become a rank 9 warrior. Xiao Fei. We will rely on him in the future." Who would have thought that 10 years would pass in the blink of an eye? Chapter 95. Du Xiongwu's family left Tianxiong City in a small jet. It was a short distance plane that flew very fast. Ordinary flying beasts couldn't catch up with it, and it was the most popular means of transportation. However, the weakness of such a small plane was that it couldn't fly long distances. For example, there were 5 stops to go from Tianxiong City to Hero City. Of course, such a short distance plane couldn't go directly from Tianxiong City to Hero City. After reaching another city, they had to book another ticket. Right now, the plane with the serial number Z21 had just taken off from Black Rock City. Black Rock City was more than 3,000 kilometers away from Tianxiong City. It was located in the north of Tianxiong City. After taking off from there and going through a safe flight route, they would reach the former Russian territory in less than 10 minutes. Du Xiongwu's family. Perhaps it was an unlucky year. After being defeated by Yang Tian, not only did Du Xiongwu's martial artist realm drop to level 6, he was too ashamed to stay in Tianxiong City. More than 10 minutes after taking off, the entire plane started shaking. Dear passengers, the plane has malfunctioned. We need to make an emergency landing immediately. Please fasten your seatbelt. At that moment, the captain's voice was heard in the cabin. The plane was full of people. There were originally 21 seats, but 36 people were squeezed in. It was seriously overloaded. There was no other way. They could only rely on planes to travel from one safe zone to another. There were too many passengers and every plane was overloaded. Du Xiongwu wanted to charter a plane, but there were a lot of people who were richer than Du Xiongwu. He didn't leave at the right time. There were no more chartered planes, unless he booked 1 or 2 months in advance. When he was the master of Shenwei Dojo, Du Xiongwu had a lot of power. Back then, as long as he wanted to go out, he only needed to say the word and a chartered plane would be prepared for him. Now, Du Xiongwu could only sigh at how realistic this world was. More than 10 minutes later. Rumble! The plane shook violently as if it was going to fall apart at any time. It only stopped after a long time. The passengers on the plane were very lucky in this plane crash. The plane had to make an emergency landing on a grassland. Everyone exited the cabin in a state of shock. What should we do now? There's no safe zone around us. Are we supposed to walk to our destination? This is a grassland, a world of wolves. We're in trouble now. If I had known earlier, I would have waited for 2 days before leaving. It's over now. After coming out of the cabin, everyone looked at what seemed to be a boundless grassland. Everyone was panicking and uneasy. The plane took off not too long ago. We're only about 300 kilometers away from Black Rock City. We can only walk back. Du Xiongwu frowned as he looked at his warrior assistive tool. At this time, the captain opened the luggage compartment at the back of the plane and waved to everyone. Everyone, come and get your luggage. Leave this place while it's still early. It'll be troublesome if it gets dark. March 1st, 2116, 6 a.m. After half a month of traveling, Yang Tian was almost 1,000 kilometers away from Tianxiong City. Over the past 20 days, Yang Tian finally understood that the route Qin Lao had planned for him was actually very easy to take. Most of the roads were highways built by humans before the YS virus outbreak. They had not been used for almost 100 years. These highways were covered by trees and weeds. By following the highways, they did not need to sleep in the open most of the time. Although almost 100 years had passed, some of the houses built by humans were still usable. Creak, creak, creak. After Yang Tian woke up, he pushed open the broken metal door. This was a small building built by the side of the road. The entire building was covered in vines and surrounded by trees. Creak, creak. At this time, the little blue dragon's excited cries could be heard from afar. Then, a green shadow flashed and appeared on Yang Tian's shoulder. The little blue dragon that had been out for the night had finally returned. At this time, the little unicorn also walked out of the house. After leaving Tianxiong City, Yang Tian let the little unicorn consume a level 3 beast core. The little unicorn's body had doubled in size. Its body was now more than a meter long. Yang Tian could not even hold it in his arms. The little unicorn's wings had grown out and a white jade-like horn had grown out of its forehead. "Little fella, it's time to practice flying. Don't be afraid of falling." Yang Tian patted the little unicorn's head and said with a smile. The little unicorn rubbed its face against Yang Tian's waist. It walked forward with its 4 hooves for more than 10 meters and spread its wings. Each of its wings was more than a meter long after it spread out. It was covered in snow-white feathers, and the shape of its wings was like that of an eagle's. Huff, huff, huff. After the little unicorn spread its wings, it started to flap them, creating a strong gust of wind. With the help of the gust of wind, the little unicorn's body gradually rose up and its 4 legs left the ground. Yang Tian looked at all of this curiously. Growing horns on a horse's head and then growing wings was clearly against the evolution of a creature. Birds all had streamlined bodies. As for a horse, if it flew in the sky, the air resistance was greater and it would affect its flying speed. However, this world had long become inconceivable. After the little blue dragon transformed, it could fly even without wings. This was clearly not using the power of the air, but another mysterious power. Thinking of this, Yang Tian sighed. The power of the Dragon Ball in his body was similar to the power in the little blue dragon's body. Then, would it be able to fly in the future? While Yang Tian was letting his imagination run wild, the little unicorn had already flown more than 10 meters in the air. It started to fly forward slowly and tried to turn in the air. Yang Tian retracted his thoughts and stared at the little unicorn without blinking. After the little unicorn spun in the air a few times, it increased its speed. Its 4 legs bent backward and its neck stretched forward. This posture was clearly to reduce the air resistance. The little unicorn flew faster and faster until it could no longer maintain its balance. Finally, it fell from the sky. Bang! The little unicorn was like a fighter jet that swooped down from the sky, breaking a large tree that was as thick as a bowl. Woo woo! After a while, the little unicorn's painful cries could be heard from the forest in front. Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. This kind of thing happened frequently in the past few days. A little bird had to put in a lot of effort to fly into the sky. Although the little unicorn was an exotic beast, it had to go through this process as well. When it completely mastered the flying technique, it could fly freely in the sky. Poochie, the little unicorn, snorted and came out from the forest. It limped in front of Yang Tian. "Little guy, if you want to fly freely, this is the price you have to pay." As Yang Tian spoke, he patted the little unicorn's head. Then, he squatted down and checked the little unicorn's limping front leg. He was relieved when he found that it wasn't broken and only suffered some superficial injuries. Other than its injured front leg, the little unicorn's neck was also cut by Gigi a few times. Blood was seeping out. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, the little blue dragon cried out twice and jumped from Yang Tian's shoulder to the little unicorn's back. Yang Tian had already stayed here for 2 days. Now that the little unicorn was injured, he had to stay for another 2 days. Chapter 96. Run! The wolf pack is coming again. Ah! Awoof! There were thick clouds in the sky, blocking out the starlight. It was so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. In the forest, the flashlights kept flashing. The howls of wolves, the screams of people, and the sounds of panic could be heard. Pfft! Du Xiongwu spat out the dirt in his mouth. He looked at the direction and continued to run with Zhu Shaoqing on his back. Behind him were his sons, Du Cheng and Dui, and his daughter, Du Mei. Pfft! At this moment, a blackback wolf appeared in front of Du Xiongwu, blocking his path. Du Xiongwu waved his saber and chopped this kind of wolf that did not have a high number into 2. Help! Help! At this moment, a young man's voice came from behind them. Du Xiongwu and the group stopped. Soon, the young man who was shouting appeared in front of Du Xiongwu and the group. Behind this young man was a young woman, who was carrying a little girl of about 10 years old on her back. Behind the young woman, 2 black-back wolves suddenly jumped up and pounced on the woman who was carrying the little girl. Ah! Seeing the black-back wolves pouncing on her, the little girl screamed in fear. The woman who was carrying the little girl heard the sound of the wind behind her and jumped away with all her might. Bang! Bang! The 2 black-back wolves missed their target. This young woman was obviously an enhancer. She had great strength and speed, surpassing that of an ordinary person. However, from the way she moved, it was obvious that she was not a martial artist. Du Xiongwu and the group turned around and saw this scene. "Big brother, wait for us!" The young man who was shouting saw Du Xiongwu and the group and shouted in surprise. It had been more than 10 days since the plane crash, and more than 10 days since the pilot left the grassland and headed south towards Black Rock City. In the past 10 days or so, this group of people had encountered packs of wolves and many exotic beasts. More than half of them had died, and now there were less than 10 people left. During their escape, Du Xiongwu's family was fine. That was because Du Xiongwu was a level 6 martial artist, and no exotic beasts above level 6 appeared along the way. Every time an exotic beast blocked their path, they would be killed by the brothers Du Xiongwu, Du Qing, and Dui. Among the 37 people, Du Xiongwu was the strongest warrior. Everyone followed behind Du Xiongwu. Du Xiongwu's 2 sons were both level 4 martial artists. Du Mei was also a level 2 martial artist. Du Xiongwu carried Zhu Shaoqing on his back and moved forward. The family moved very quickly and soon left the large group of people behind them. From Du Xiongwu's point of view, they had no obligation to protect this group of people. They even found the people behind them troublesome. Du Xiongwu furrowed his brows. This young man was too noisy. Shouting in the forest was an act of seeking death. It would only attract more exotic beasts. The young man ran happily in front of Du Xiongwu and the rest, but his head was chopped off by Du Qing. How annoying! After Du Qing killed the young man, he spat on the ground. At this moment, the young woman carrying the little girl turned to the other side. 2 black-back wolves pounced on Du Qing and were easily killed by Du Qing. At this time, Du Xiongwu raised his flashlight and scanned the young man's body and the 3 wolf corpses. His eyes were cold as he said to Du Qing, "Let's go. I estimate that your second uncle will be here in a day or 2. Du Qing nodded, and Du Xiongwu's family continued forward. As for the pitiful young woman carrying the little girl, they didn't care about her at all. "Sister, they are martial artists. Why didn't they protect us?" After resolving the crisis, the little girl looked at the headless corpse of the young man in the darkness and asked her sister. The young woman gritted her teeth and turned her head. She whispered to the little girl on her back, "They are the bad guys among the martial artists." Although Du Xiongwu's group wanted to kill them, the young woman thought for a moment and decided to follow behind Du Xiongwu's group. However, she stayed a little far away and didn't dare to shout like the young man from before. That was because the path Du Xiongwu's group took had very few exotic beasts. The path forward was the safest. To the sisters, Du Xiongwu's group was like a street sweeper. After a few hours, the sky finally brightened. There were no exotic beasts in the surroundings. Du Xiongwu's family finally stopped and started cooking. The young woman carrying the little girl saw the rising black smoke in front of them and knew that Du Xiongwu's group had stopped. She finally let out a sigh of relief. After more than 10 days of fleeing, Du Xiongwu's family was in a very sorry state. Their clothes were tattered and dirty. Only Zhu Shaoqing was in a better state. That was because Du Xiongwu had been carrying her on his back all this time. At this moment, she was sitting by the fire, combing her messy hair. The young woman approached Du Xiongwu's group, about 50 meters away. She put down the little girl on her back. The 2 of them parted the bushes and looked at Du Xiongwu's family. The 2 brothers, Du Qing and Dui, were roasting exotic beast meat. Although they were dozens of meters away, the fragrance drifted over. The little girl couldn't help but swallow her saliva when she saw it. The two of them were staring at Du Xiongwu's family. Naturally, they were discovered by Du Xiongwu's group. Du Xiongwu only glanced at them and didn't say anything. At this moment Dewey nudged Du Qing, then stood up and said to Du Xiongwu, "Dad, I'm going to settle some personal matters." "I'm going too." At this moment, Du Qing also stood up and said, "Don't go too far." Although we're not far from Black Rock City, there are still many exotic beasts in the forest. Du Xiongwu looked at the two brothers and said. Sensing the excitement in his two sons' eyes, Du Xiongwu knitted his brows. He had already guessed what his two sons wanted to do, but he didn't stop them. The two brothers looked at each other and smiled excitedly. Then, they went into the forest together. "Sister, I'm so hungry." At this moment, the little girl opened her eyes wide and stared at the roasted meat that Du Xiongwu was turning. She licked her dry lips and said, "The elder sister said, they'll be leaving soon. When they're done eating, there'll definitely be some left." The younger sister nodded, still staring at the roasted meat. A few minutes later, the two sisters were staring at the roasted meat in front of them. Suddenly, two pairs of hands reached out from behind them and covered their mouths, dragging them back. Woo-woo, the two sisters kept struggling, but the ones holding them down were Du Xiong and Dewey. Both of them were level 4 fighters. No matter how hard they struggled, they couldn't break free. The two sisters let out woo-woo sounds. They could only see the trees around them moving quickly. A few minutes later, they stopped. Save, the moment Du Qing let go of his hands, the elder sister screamed. However, just as she made a sound, Du Qing knocked her unconscious with a palm strike. Looking at the young woman who had collapsed in his arms, Du Qing laughed lewdly. "Sister." Seeing her elder sister knocked unconscious, the little girl's eyes widened and she screamed in shock. Dewey stuffed a rag of cloth into the little girl's mouth. Then, he pulled out a few rattan vines and tied the little girl up in a few moves. Woo-woo-woo, the little girl cried and let out woo-woo sounds. She struggled with all her might, but she couldn't break free. In front of the little girl, Du Qing and Dewey looked at each other and started tearing off the clothes on the young woman's body. Chapter 97. Did someone call for help just now? Du Mei looked in the direction of the voice and asked curiously. Du Xiongwu didn't say anything and only shook his head helplessly. His two sons were really disappointing. How could they still have the time to play with women at a time like this? Zhu Shaoqing combed her hair and said, "I guess your two brothers went to look for that woman. She's been following us for so long and we don't know what she's up to. It's good to get rid of them." "That's not good, right?" Du Mei frowned. She knew what her two brothers were like. As for those two sisters, they had been following them all this time. How could they have any ulterior motives? They were only following them because they didn't want to encounter any exotic beast. They were just looking for protection. As Du Mei spoke, she stood up and wanted to see what was going on. However, Zhu Shaoqing said, "Sit down. Don't bother about them. Those two people are following us. Who knows how many exotic beasts they'll attract." Du Mei sat down helplessly. In Tianxiong City, Du Xiongwu's family would still pay attention to their image. Sometimes they would even participate in some charity events and donate some money to save face. However, the family's indifference to other people's lives was finally exposed. Yang Tian carried a huge backpack and moved forward in the forest. Every few kilometers, he would look at his martial arts assistance device to check his current location. This was to ensure that he didn't stray too far from the route. Little Unicorn still didn't know how to fly and followed behind Yang Tian. As for the little blue dragon, it had already run ahead to help Yang Tian search for exotic beasts that might appear nearby. Yang Tian could sense the little blue dragon's current location. It was a few kilometers north. After a few days of rapid travel, Yang Tian had already passed Black Rock City and was heading north. After a few hundred kilometers, he would reach the grasslands. In fact, the area hundreds of kilometers around Black Rock City used to be a large grassland. In the past 100 years, trees had grown at an insane rate, turning the original grassland into a forest. Yang Tian stopped. He took out the map from his pocket and looked at it. He muttered to himself, 5 kilometers ahead, and 50 kilometers to the south. There's a red circle here, a level 8 exotic beast. Yang Tian had never encountered a level 8 exotic beast before. When the time came, he would kill the level 8 exotic beast and obtain its beast core. Coupled with the power of the Dragon Ball, his strength would be equivalent to a level 9 martial artist. That day when he fought with Du Xiongwu, under the state of LV9, to Yang Tian that feeling was too wonderful. Go. Let's keep going. Yang Tian excitedly patted little Du Jiao's neck and said with a smile, Zzz. Du Qing tore off the young woman's clothes, revealing her pink bra. Dewey, on the other hand, had already taken off the young woman's jeans. The young woman was an enhancer. Her figure was very good. After half a month of fleeing, the young woman's face and hair were covered in mud. The original color of her skin could not be seen. But now the young woman's skin was exposed. It was very white. Only her underwear was left. Du Qing and Dewey stopped. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Woo, when the little girl saw Du Qing and Dewey tearing off her sister's clothes, she knew what they wanted to do. She struggled with all her strength again. Her mouth made woo sounds and tears flowed down uncontrollably. Cough, cough. Finally, the little girl spat out the ragged cloth in her mouth and coughed. Du Qing and Dewey turned their heads to look at the little girl. Seeing that the rattan on the little girl's body had not loosened, they turned their heads back and looked at the unconscious young woman with a lewd smile. The two of them had not touched a woman for a long time. At this time, they were extremely eager. Looking at the half-naked woman's body, their faces turned red, and their breathing became rapid. You don't hurt my sister, I beg you. Woo. The little girl knew that it was useless to shout for help at this time. She begged the two of them. Du Qing and Dewey did not even turn their heads. They simply ignored the little girl. We are warriors, the hope of mankind, the spirit of warriors, bravery, aggressiveness, integrity, fearlessness. We do not bully the weak. For the sake of mankind's reproduction, we are willing to sacrifice ourselves. The clever little girl began to talk intermittently about the speech of a warrior when warriors were just born. This warrior's name was Yang Yu, the same surname as Yang Tian. This speech spoke of the spirit of martial artists. In the next decade or so, martial artists were inspired by this spirit. They paid great sacrifices and opened up safe zones one after another, building cities after cities. Humanity could finally settle down. But unfortunately, after a few decades, very few people remembered the spirit of warriors. Bravery, aggressiveness, integrity, fearlessness, not bullying the weak, having the spirit of self-sacrifice. Du Qing and Dewey were about to remove the underwear on the young woman's body. When they heard the little girl's sobbing words, they stopped, frowned, and turned around. The spirit of warriors was hanging in Xinwei Martial Arts Hall. But how many of the current martial artists could still remember it? When the two of them heard the little girl's words, they felt that it was extremely harsh. But Dewey walked in front of the little girl, squatted down, and slapped the little girl. The little girl was slapped to the ground by Dewey. She was dizzy, blood flowed out of her mouth and nose, and half of her cheek swelled. Damn it! What a disappointment! Wait until your sister, then it will be your turn. Just treat it as the protection fee that you two sisters have paid for these 10 days. Dewey looked at the little girl on the ground and sneered. Warriors are not like this. The little girl was already very weak, and her mouth was emitting an inaudible sound. How could beasts understand human language when they tried to reason with them? Brother, you go first. Dewey stood up and smiled at Du Qing. Hee. Du Qing nodded and laughed lewdly. What the two of them didn't know was that on a big tree next to them, there was a little blue dragon lying on its stomach. The little blue dragon had just arrived here when it heard the little girl say the spirit of warriors. It had also heard this from Yang Tian. The little blue dragon's intelligence was no different from that of humans. It naturally knew that Du Qing and Dewey were hurting the two weak women in the eyes of warriors. Looking at Du Qing and Dewey's behavior, the little blue dragon's eyes were full of coldness. When Du Qing helped the young woman up and was about to unbutton her bra, suddenly, the little blue dragon moved. A green shadow flashed and passed in front of Du Qing's eyes. Du Qing only saw a flash of green light, and then, there was darkness in front of him. Then, there was the sharp pain of his eyeballs being scratched and bursting. Dewey was not spared. When he noticed the green light passing by his brother, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He raised his hand and was about to rub his eyes when a green light flashed in front of him. At that moment, Dewey and Du Qing also heard the sound of their eyeballs bursting. Chapter 98. Ah, my eyes! My eyes! Du Qing and Dewey covered their eyes and screamed in pain. Their ear-piercing screams spread far and wide. Their eyes were scratched and blood flowed out from between Du Qing and Dewey's hands. When they let go of their hands, their originally bright eyes had become two bloody holes. It looked very frightening. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon didn't intend to let the two of them off so easily. It let out two angry cries and its small body moved. It turned into a green shadow and revolved around Du Qing and Dewey's bodies. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Every time the green shadow flashed by, Du Qing and Dewey's bodies would have an additional wound. The angry little blue dragon didn't want to kill Du Qing and Dewey immediately. It kept scratching the two of them with its sharp claws, as if it wanted to kill them with 1,000 cuts. Du Qing and Dewey couldn't see and could only run around in pain. They covered their eyes and screamed in pain. Their screams were naturally heard by Du Xiongwu, Zhu Shaoqing, and Du Mei, who weren't far away. Previously, they heard the young woman's cries for help but didn't do anything. Now that they heard Du Qing and Dewey's screams, they immediately stood up. Xiao Mei, protect your mother. I'll go take a look, Du Xiongwu said anxiously. He grabbed the knife beside him and ran in the direction of the screams. The little blue dragon naturally sensed Du Xiongwu's arrival. It immediately jumped onto a branch of a big tree and hid in the dense foliage. When Du Xiongwu arrived, Du Qing and Dewey were rolling on the ground in pain. Weak screams came from their mouth. Next to them was a young woman who was about to be stripped naked and an unconscious little girl. Du Xiongwu only glanced at the young woman and the little girl before turning his attention to his two sons. Du Qing and Dewey were covered in wounds. Large amounts of blood flowed out from their wounds, dyeing the ground red. The wounds on their bodies were obviously caused by the claws of exotic beasts. Luckily, these wounds were only superficial and not deep. With a warrior's strong recovery ability, they would recover very quickly with simple bandages. Qing'er Wei'er, Du Xiongwu called out with a frown after seeing their injuries. Although it was very painful, Du Qing and Dewey were no longer afraid when they heard Du Xiongwu's voice. They curled up their bodies and slowly calmed down. Because their bodies were in great pain, their bodies were trembling non-stop. They looked even more pitiful than the unconscious sisters. Du Xiongwu looked around vigilantly. He bit the knife in his hand and held Du Xiong and Dewey under his armpits, one in each hand, and quickly left this place. The little blue dragon jumped down from the tree at this moment and arrived in front of the little girl. The little girl's long eyelashes were trembling. She was in a semi-conscious state. The little blue dragon used its claws to scratch the little girl's swollen cheek. The little girl still didn't wake up. Zhi, the little blue dragon shook its head, then let out a piercing cry in the direction of Yang Tian. Yang Tian, who was moving forward quickly, suddenly heard the little blue dragon's cry. The little blue dragon wanted him to hurry over. Something must have happened. Yang Tian immediately increased his speed and moved forward at the same speed as when he was fighting. More than 10 minutes later, seeing the half-naked woman lying on the ground and the little girl bound by vines, Yang Tian's brows furrowed tightly. This situation was obviously man-made. Yang Tian went forward and cut off the vines on the little girl's body with a few slashes, then helped the little girl up. Yang Tian gritted his teeth when he saw the little girl's swollen cheeks and the clear fingerprints on them. He also saw the blood at the corner of the little girl's mouth and nostrils. He thought to himself, how could someone do such a thing to such a young child? If I meet the culprit, I'll definitely chop off their hands. The little girl's situation wasn't very good. Yang Tian touched the little girl's forehead. It was already burning up. Although she had a fever just now, Yang Tian's sharp sense of touch could detect it. What should I do? Yang Tian didn't bring any anti-inflammatory medicine when he went out this time. With his current physique, even if he was injured, ordinary medicine wouldn't have any effect on his body. That's right. Yang Tian suddenly remembered that he still had the beast core. Yang Tian put down the backpack behind him and took out a level 1 beast core. Looking at the level 1 beast core in his hand, Yang Tian hesitated. Because the little girl was still young and her body hadn't matured yet, he didn't know if she could withstand the energy of the beast core. What about half of it? No. The structure of a beast core was very complicated. It contained many kinds of rare substances that were not evenly distributed. If he only used a part of the beast core, he might not be able to achieve the strengthening effect. What if he crushed it? Yang Tian didn't have any tools at the moment. The little blue dragon lay on the side and stared curiously at Yang Tian. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Tian still put the beast core into the little girl's mouth. If he didn't do anything, the little girl would definitely die. After swallowing the beast core, there was still a chance of survival. Next, he just had to wait quietly. After gently putting the little girl on the ground, Yang Tian walked a few steps and came in front of the young woman. He squatted down and helped the young woman up, wanting to see if she was injured. He didn't expect that just as he helped the woman up, the young woman raised her hand and slapped Yang Tian. Yang Tian raised his hand and caught her hand. The young woman had already opened her eyes, but they were still a little confused. Yang Tian immediately let go of the young woman and dodged to the side. Who are you? The young woman sat up and was dazed for a moment before coming to her senses. She found Yang Tian very unfamiliar and asked nervously. Yang Tian smiled and said, "My name is Yang Tian. Who brought you here? It seems that little. I came just in time." Only then did the young woman react. She found that her body was cold, and she was only wearing underwear. She couldn't help but panic and hugged her chest with both hands. Then, she put one hand down and covered between her thighs. Yang Tian took out a white t-shirt from his backpack and threw it to the young woman. Then, he turned around. In less than a minute, the young woman had put on the t-shirt that Yang Tian gave her and her own jeans. Then, she ran to the little girl and checked on her condition. After the young woman found that the little girl was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. She gently shook the little girl and called out softly, "Little sister, little sister." This young woman was an enhancer, but she was not a martialist who had trained in combat techniques. Yang Tian was able to deduce this from her strength and movement. She was severely injured and has a fever. I didn't bring any medicine, so I could only feed her a level 1 beast core. I hope she's fine. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he sighed. Beast core. After hearing Yang Tian's words, the young woman was very surprised, because to her, a beast core was very precious. As an enhancer, the young woman understood that a level 1 beast core was worth millions of martial coins. She didn't expect Yang Tian to use a level 1 beast core to save her little sister. Moreover, from Yang Tian's tone, it seemed like he didn't care about the beast core. Chapter 99. My name is Su Jiao. She's my younger sister, Su Fangrong. Yang Tian was checking on the little girl's condition when the young woman beside him said plainly. Yang Tian nodded, knowing the sisters' names. Su Fangrong's body was starting to heat up. From Yang Tian's experience, this wasn't a fever caused by an injury, but the beast core's effects. Sha sha sha. At this moment, the sound of branches and twigs being stepped on came from the forest nearby. Su Jiao looked in the direction of the sound with a vigilant expression. This was clearly not the sound of humans walking, but the footsteps of exotic beasts. Su Jiao looked at Yang Tian. Yang Tian's expression was very calm. There's an exotic beast coming, Su Jiao reminded Yang Tian. After walking in the forest for half a month, Su Jiao's nerves were already very sensitive. Yang Tian looked at the nervous Su Jiao and smiled, saying, "It's my girlfriend's pet beast." Su Jiao finally relaxed after hearing Yang Tian's words. A moment later, a white Pegasus appeared before Su Jiao's eyes. Seeing the white Pegasus, Su Jiao was very surprised. She couldn't help but widen her eyes. If it was any other exotic beast, Su Jiao wouldn't find it strange, but a Pegasus. To Su Jiao, it was a little inconceivable. In Su Jiao's eyes, this Pegasus was very beautiful. Its entire body was as white as snow, and it had a jade-like horn on its head. The feathers on its wings were also white and shiny. It was really too beautiful. Su Jiao sighed in her heart. We Orientals call it a Pegasus, while Westerners call it a unicorn. Yang Tian looked at the little unicorn and said with a smile. Yang Tian's speed was very fast earlier and had left the little unicorn behind. Only now did the little unicorn catch up. In fact, it had only been less than 10 minutes. When the little unicorn saw Yang Tian, it flapped its wings and walked in front of Yang Tian. It rubbed its face against Yang Tian's waist, looking very intimate. Yang Tian patted little unicorn's head and looked into Su Jiao's eyes as he asked, "None of you are warriors. Why are you here?" Su Jiao replied, "My sister and I were originally living in Black Rock City and were going to Wulon City to look for Big Brother. Unexpectedly, not long after the plane took off, it malfunctioned and was forced to land on the grassland. Then we encountered a pack of wolves." Su Jiao held his unconscious sister in his arms and told her what had happened in the past half a month. After Su Jiao finished speaking, Yang Tian clenched his fist and asked, "What about the other two?" To be able to subdue a strengthened woman, the other party was obviously a warrior. Furthermore, they were at least level 2 or above. Yang Tian hated it when warriors used their own strength to bully ordinary people who had no martial arts. Su Jiao shook her head. "You two stay here and don't go anywhere. I'll go take a look." As Yang Tian spoke, he walked towards the bushes with his saber. "Don't leave." Seeing that Yang Tian was about to leave, Su Jiao hurriedly said, "If you leave, what if we meet another mutated beast?" After speaking, Su Jiao pointed at the bloodstains on the ground. Yang Tian knew what Su Jiao meant. The smell of blood here would definitely attract mutated beasts. "Don't worry, I'll be back soon. As long as it stays here, you don't have to be afraid." Yang Tian looked at Su Jiao and patted Little Unicorn's head. Little Unicorn snorted and used its front hooves to paw the ground, as if to show off how powerful it was. It was now a level 3 mutated beast. This place was not far from Black Rock City, so there were very few high-level mutated beasts. Little Unicorn could intimidate those low-level mutated beasts. Along the way, Yang Tian rarely encountered low-level mutated beasts. This was because Little Unicorn did not know how to conceal its aura and scared away the surrounding low-level mutated beasts. Su Jiao could not change Yang Tian's mind. She could only watch as Yang Tian left and entered the bushes at the side. After walking for a short distance, the little blue dragon appeared and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. "Squeak, squeak, squeak." Little Blue Dragon told Yang Tian what had happened and that those people had already left. "Chase." Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Squeak, squeak." Little Blue Dragon cried out excitedly and jumped to the ground. It ran towards the south and led the way for Yang Tian. Yang Tian still did not know that the people he was chasing were Du Xiongwu's family. While Yang Tian was treating Su Fangrong's injuries, Du Cheng and Dui's injuries were also simply bandaged. When Du Xiongwu heard the brothers say that they hadn't seen the exotic beast that had injured them clearly, and only knew that it was a very small exotic beast, Du Xiongwu knitted his brows and began to worry. His two sons were both level 4 warriors. To be able to claw the two brothers blind in an instant, this small mutated beast was at least level 5 or above. Du Xiongwu was now a level 6 warrior. If it wasn't for his wife and children by his side, he wouldn't be worried. But now, for the safety of his wife and children, he had to leave this place immediately. Before setting off, Du Xiongwu used his warrior auxiliary device to inform his younger brother, Du Xiongwen. When he learned that Du Xiongwen had already passed Wulon City and would be arriving soon, he finally relaxed. As long as they could hold on for another hour or two, Du Xiongwen would arrive. At that time, even if they encountered a level 8 mutated beast, they wouldn't have to worry. Du Xiongwu's group walked very slowly with his two injured sons. Pooh! Pung! Pooh! Suddenly, Du Xiongwu heard a rhythmic sound coming from behind him. This was obviously the sound of a warrior bouncing. In the past, when Du Xiongwu was active in the forest, it was the same when he was rushing through the forest. To be able to move through the forest in this way, it was at least a level 8 warrior. Could it be that his younger brother, Du Xiongwen, had come? Du Xiongwu stopped. Soon, the newcomer appeared in front of them. Pung! In Du Xiongwu's eyes, Yang Tian's figure flashed and landed more than 10 meters in front of them. After Yang Tian landed, he squatted down to dissipate the force of his fall. After landing, he slowly raised his head and looked at Du Xiongwu with a smile. Yang Tian! Zhu Shaoqing cried out in shock when she saw Yang Tian's face. Yang Tian also didn't expect to meet Du Xiongwu's family so soon. This was too much of a coincidence, as if it was specially arranged by the heavens. He stood up and looked at the two brothers, Du Cheng and Dui. The two of them had white gauze wrapped around their heads and covered their eyes. Blood was seeping out of the white gauze where their eyes were. Seeing the two brothers, Yang Tian knew that he had found the right people. I don't know how you educate your children. Each one is worse than the other. The last one wanted to snatch someone else's belongings, and these two actually bullied the weak. They really deserved to end up like this. However, just being blind is not enough to atone for their sins. Yang Tian looked at Du Xiongwu's family and said indifferently. Yang Tian had just learned from Su Jiao that Du Cheng and Dui had killed many innocent people in the past half a month, and the excuse was that they were annoyed by people following them. What are you doing? When Zhu Shaoqing saw that Yang Tian had finished speaking, a cold glint flashed across her eyes. She quickly spread out her arms and stood in front of her two sons to protect them. Bang! Hu! Hiss! Yang Tian stomped his feet on the ground, and his body moved with a strong wind. At the same time, he unsheathed his long sword and turned into two white lines flashing. No! Du Xiongwu was shocked and wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Before he could finish his sentence, Yang Tian had already stopped behind them. Wu Wu! Du Cheng and Dui suddenly covered their necks, and blood spurted out from their fingers. They fell to the ground and kept moaning and twitching. Seeing this, Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing both opened their mouths wide and were stunned for a moment. Chapter 100. Zhu Shaoqing looked at her two sons lying on the ground and was horrified. It took her a long time to recover. She squatted down and shook Du Cheng, then looked at Dui. Both of them were dead and motionless. Only the blood was still flowing out of their necks. She suddenly screamed and fainted. Mom! Du Mei screamed and quickly helped Zhu Shaoqing up. From the beginning to the end, Martial artist Du Xiong looked at Yang Tian coldly and tightened his grip on the saber in his hand. Yang Tian put the knife back into its sheath and turned to leave. Since Du Qing and Dui had done evil, it was fine to kill them. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing, as well as their daughter Du Mei, had not done anything out of line. Perhaps they had done so in the past. Yang Tian did not know. Yang Tian did not intend to kill them. This was the principle in Yang Tian's heart. Seeing that Yang Tian was about to leave, Du Xiongwu gritted his teeth and shouted coldly, "Stop right there!" Yang Tian stopped and turned around. You killed 3 of my sons. 3 of my sons. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Do you want to leave just like that? Du Xiongwu raised his knife and pointed it at Yang Tian, gnashing his teeth. You are no match for me. Yang Tian looked at Du Xiongwu and said lightly, You did not teach your sons well. They killed many innocent people. You know it in your heart. Your 2 sons should be killed. Du Xiongwu said, It is not up to you to decide whether they should be killed or not. Even if they slaughtered a city, what does it have to do with you? What does it have to do with me? Yang Tian sneered and said, The martial artists in this world are becoming more and more unbridled. Someone has to take care of them. Otherwise, if martial artists could kill people at will and treat ordinary humans like cattle and horses, treating them like ants, then wouldn't the world be in chaos? Naturally, there will be people in charge within the city. If there is no one outside the city, then I will. Yang Tian's intention was very clear. He wanted to meddle in this business. What could you do about it? Most importantly, Yang Tian now had the strength to do so. When Yang Tian said this, he also had some feelings in his heart. In the early days of martial artists, the spirit of martial artists was widespread. It was rare for martial artists to bully the weak. Now, however, such occurrences were common outside the safety zone. Once ordinary people left the safety zone, the biggest threat to them was not exotic beasts, but their own kind. It was fine if Yang Tian didn't see this kind of thing, but since he saw it, he had to intervene. Du Xiongwu sneered, You say it so righteously, but you still want to take revenge for your personal grudge. According to the rules of martial artists, no matter what the reason is, if you kill someone, you have to hand over your weapon and accept the investigation of the martial artist committee. Will you go? Yang Tian shook his head. Of course I won't go. Because the martial artist committee is also rotten. There is no fairness there. Actually, if I really go, they will ignore your complaint on account of me being a level 8 martial artist. Do you believe it? With Yang Tian's question, Du Xiongwu was speechless. For the first time, Du Xiongwu felt the feeling of being bullied. This feeling was really unbearable. Your son is human, but others aren't? If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. I don't believe that you didn't know what your 2 sons were going to do to the sisters. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he turned around and was about to leave again. I'll kill you. When Yang Tian turned around, Du Xiongwu raised his saber and rushed towards Yang Tian, slashing towards Yang Tian's head. Although Du Xiongwu's martial artist level had dropped to level 6, his combat experience was still there. His speed was very fast, and the sound of the wind was very small. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Yang Tian. Peng! At this moment, Yang Tian turned around fiercely. The saber was unsheathed, and the handle of the saber hit Du Xiongwu's chest, sending Du Xiongwu flying. Du Xiongwu flipped in the air and landed on the ground. Then, he retreated a few steps before holding his chest and stabilizing his body. Now, Du Xiongwu and Yang Tian's strength were very different. There was a gap of 1 realm. He was defeated by Yang Tian in 1 move. After Du Xiongwu stopped, he was a little dejected. Before, he was still a level 8 martial artist, the owner of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall, and the target of everyone's flattery. But now he was like a drowning dog. Why did it become like this? Du Xiongwu couldn't understand. Screech! At this moment, a shrill eagle cry sounded in the sky. When he heard the cry of the eagle, Du Xiongwu's expression flickered, and he looked up into the sky. Suddenly, he began to laugh, and tears began to stream down his cheeks. Seeing Du Xiongwu crying with joy, Yang Tian knew that Du Xiongwen had come. That's good. Last time, I was almost defeated by Du Xiongwen and almost killed by him. This time, I can take revenge for that punch. Soon, a huge black eagle flew over, circled a few times above Yang Tian's position, and then swooped down. Whoosh! With a strong wind, the black eagle landed on the ground. Then, a tall and thin man jumped down from the back of the black eagle. Du Xiongwen. Seeing the man who jumped down from the back of the black eagle, Yang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. Go! After jumping down from the eagle's back, Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian, patted the back of the black eagle, and said. The huge black eagle's legs kicked, flapped its wings, and flew into the air. After the black eagle flew away, Du Xiongwen pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose and looked at Yang Tian. The corner of his mouth curled up. This was not a sneer, but a smile with a hint of surprise. At this time, Zhu Shaoqing, who was strongly stimulated, woke up. With the help of Du Mei, she walked to Du Xiongwen's side. She pointed at Yang Tian and said, Xiongwen, kill him? He killed Shao Qing and Shao Wei. After Zhu Shaoqing shouted, Du Xiongwen frowned. He had just arrived and did not know that his two nephews were killed by Yang Tian. Including Du Feng, all three nephews were killed by Yang Tian. Yang Tian, why did you do this? Du Xiongwen was different from Du Xiongwu. At least, he was more upright than Du Xiongwu. He looked at Yang Tian and asked in a dissatisfied tone. Yang Tian said lightly, they bullied the weak. You can ask your brother, Du Cheng and Dewey, what did they do? Zhu Shaoqing snorted coldly and said with a sneer, what does it have to do with you who my son kills? Those people followed us and attracted a lot of exotic beasts. Is it wrong for Shao Qing and Shao Wei to kill them? After Zhu Shaoqing finished speaking, Yang Tian laughed and looked at Du Xiongwen, saying, listen to your sister-in-law's words. What do you think? You treat human lives like dirt. I finally understand now. Du Xiongwen turned around and looked at Zhu Shaoqing with a frown. Du Xiongwen was actually a little dissatisfied with his brother's family. He could not stand some of their actions, so he spent a lot of time away from home. However, Du Cheng and Dewey were his nephews after all. He had no choice but to take action. This was the second time. The first time, Du Xiongwen wanted to kill Yang Tian, but Qin Lao stopped him and prevented him from returning to Tianxiong City. This time, Yang Tian was already a level 8 martial artist. Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian and felt that things had changed with the passage of time. I've seen all the comments from my readers. Be it good or bad, I'm very grateful to all of you. Really, at least I know that everyone is reading my book. Thank you for your support. As for the updates, I'll make it a minimum of 6,000 words before it's published. I'll try my best to update 10,000 words after it's published. If the subscriptions are good, I'll work full-time and update more every day. Chapter 101. Du Xiongwen glanced at his brother Du Xiongwu, then turned his head and said to Yang Tian, if you can defeat me, I will not pursue this matter from now on. Yang Tian nodded and pulled out the saber in his hand. Last time, when he faced Yang Tian did not even use a weapon and defeated Yang Tian with a single punch. This time, Du Xiongwu pulled out two short sabers that were more than a foot long from his waist. Du Xiongwu gave Zhu Shaoqing a look and the couple retreated. They stood aside and watched Du Xiongwen and Yang Tian nervously. They naturally hoped that Du Xiongwen would kill Yang Tian. However, Yang Tian's current strength was equivalent to a level 8 martial artist and was not that easy to kill. Facing a level 8 martial artist Du Xiongwen, Yang Tian's expression turned solemn. If he did not use his secret technique, His strength would not be much stronger than Du Xiongwen's. Peng! Suddenly, Du Xiongwen moved. His feet stepped on the ground and a cloud of black mud splashed out. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yang Tian. Clang clang! Yang Tian quickly retreated a few steps. The long saber in his hand collided with Du Xiongwen's sabers in an instant, producing two metallic clangs. The powerful collision caused both of them to fly back at the same time. "What about your previous saber?" Du Xiongwen asked after retreating. Although he was talking, Du Xiongwen's movements did not stop. The two short sabers in his hand turned into a white glow and enveloped Yang Tian. Peng peng! The collision of the weapons this time was even stronger than before. The weapons vibrated rapidly, shaking the air and producing explosive sounds. The two separated again. At this time, Yang Tian finally had the chance to speak. He said indifferently, "As you wish." Du Xiongwen had a deep impression of Yang Tian's saber last time. He remembered that a white line suddenly appeared in the snow. In his vision, the white line cut countless snowflakes in half, but the snowflakes did not scatter. Its cutting power was too strong. Although Du Xiongwu could dodge that saber, he flew back because he was too curious about that saber. Before Yang Tian's voice died away, he had already appeared in front of Du Xiongwen. The saber in his hand turned into a messy net made of countless white lines and enveloped Du Xiongwen. At this time, a fallen leaf happened to fall between Yang Tian and Du Xiongwen. Du Xiongwen saw Yang Tian's saber vibrate a few times, and the leaf was cut a few times. Strangely, the leaf was still fluttering with the wind. Yang Tian's saber did not seem to come into contact with the leaf. Snow slashing saber. This was Yang Tian's self-created saber technique. After leaving Tianxiong City, Yang Tian continued to practice his saber technique every day. Now, his snow-slashing saber technique was almost mature. Facing this saber, Du Xiongwen's eyes widened. He did not dare to take it head-on. His body moved and he retreated. At this time, the leaf that Yang Tian had cut a few times scattered into dozens of small pieces and was swept away by the wind. Du Xiongwen retreated, but Yang Tian did not stop. The saber in his hand was like snow, relentlessly chasing after Du Xiongwen. Du Xiongwen was shocked. He sped up his retreat and suddenly crashed into a big tree. Bang! With a loud sound, Du Xiongwen's body crashed into the big tree. The tree shook violently, and a large number of leaves fluttered down. Hiss! Du Xiongwen, who was blocked by the big tree, was about to dodge when Yang Tian's saber arrived. He only heard the sound of the saber cutting through the air. Then, he felt a chill on his neck. Yang Tian's saber was already resting on Du Xiongwen's shoulder. What a fast saber! Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian and smiled. He was not worried about his life at all. In fact, the two of them hadn't even fought for a minute before Du Xiongwen was defeated. Du Xiongwen's martial arts were actually weaker than Du Xiongwu's back then. Du Xiongwu's moves were very strange and fast. In addition, Yang Tian was worried that there was poison on his saber, so he could not use his full strength. In addition, Yang Tian's saber technique had reached a higher level than before. All these factors combined allowed him to defeat Du Xiongwen in such a short time. During this process, Du Xiongwen could not even think of resisting Yang Tian's saber. He could only keep retreating until he could no longer retreat. Yang Tian's saber was the snow-slashing saber. He practiced his saber in the snow, and the snowflakes floating down from the sky were endless. Yang Tian nodded and withdrew his saber. Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian and asked, "Why is your saber so fast? And its cutting power is also very strong." "Because when I use my saber, I try my best to make the saber vibrate as little as possible. That way, the cutting power of the saber will be greater. Not only that, the saber has to be as fast as possible." Yang Tian explained his saber technique. "You're right. But in this world, how many warriors can do that?" After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, he sighed and asked again, "Why didn't you kill me?" Yang Tian laughed. "Because there's no need." Although Du Xiongwen and Du Xiongwu were brothers, the two of them were very different. Yang Tian at least felt a warrior's boldness and a little bit of a warrior's spirit from Du Xiongwen. Therefore, Yang Tian did not want to kill Du Xiongwen. Yang Tian glanced at Du Xiongwu, put away his saber, turned and left. Soon, he disappeared from the eyes of Du Xiongwen and Du Xiongwu. It's true that the new generation excels the old. Snow-slashing saber technique. Fast, swift and fierce. Such a fierce saber technique, what a pity! After Yang Tian left, Du Xiongwen thought about it and muttered to himself. At this time, Zhu Shaoqing came forward, looked at Du Xiongwen, and said in a blaming tone, "Xiongwen, why didn't you kill him?" Du Xiongwen looked at Zhu Shaoqing and said helplessly, "I can't beat him. It's good that he didn't kill me." Zhu Shaoqing shook her head. "Impossible. You must have gone easy on him for the outcome to be decided so quickly. You have to know that Shao Qing, Shao Wei, and Shao Feng are all your nephews. You have to avenge them." "Stop." Du Xiongwen raised his hand to interrupt Zhu Shaoqing and said, "First, I really can't beat him. Second, as for this revenge, I just told Yang Tian that as long as he beats me, I won't pursue it. This is a warrior's promise." When Du Xiongwen said this, his body exuded a fierce aura, which scared Zhu Shaoqing a few steps back. "Xiongwen, you're too honest." Du Xiongwu sighed and said helplessly. Du Xiongwen ignored his brother and Zhu Shaoqing, and waved to Du Mei. "Xiao Mei, come here." "Second uncle." Du Mei came over. Du Xiongwen looked at Du Mei and said, "In the future, you will follow second uncle." "Second uncle, I." Du Mei turned to look at her parents and hesitated. At this time Du Xiongwu said, "Go. It's good for you to follow second uncle." Du Mei nodded. "Xiongwen, are we just going to give up on our revenge?" Zhu Shaoqing didn't give up and asked while gritting her teeth. Du Xiongwen didn't answer her, but said, "I'll send you to Black Rock City first and charter a plane to Hero City. We'll talk about the future later." Chapter 102. When night fell, Yang Tian lit a bonfire. Due to her young age, Su Fangrong took a longer time to digest the energy from the beast cores. It had already been half a day, and she still hadn't woken up. What Yang Tian wasn't worried about was that Su Fangrong's face was no longer swollen, and her breathing had returned to normal. Her expression wasn't as nervous as before, and her furrowed brows were relaxed. She was like a little sleeping beauty. Su Jiao was hugging her sister and sitting by the bonfire, staring at Yang Tian as he roasted the meat. Today's experience was like a dream to Su Jiao. When she was dragged through the forest by Du Qing, she was already in despair. She regretted it very much. If she had known earlier, she would have stayed far away. But now, the two sisters didn't have to worry about their own safety anymore. They were no longer afraid of exotic beasts that would suddenly appear, and at the same time, they were on guard against others. Little Unicorn was lying on the side, staring at the roasted meat with a greedy expression. It used to eat grass, but it liked the taste of roasted meat. Yang Tian thought that it had learned bad things from the little blue dragon. Yang Tian was focused on roasting the meat. Other than the crackling sound from the bonfire, the surroundings were silent. After a while, the meat was finally cooked. The fat dripped onto the fire, making sizzling sounds. "It's finally done," Yang Tian said with a smile. He moved the roasted meat away from the bonfire, then pulled out a brand new dagger from his waist. He cut a large piece of meat, pierced it with a metal skewer, and passed it to Su Jiao. "Eat it while it's hot. This is green python meat. It tastes best when it's hot. It'll have a fishy smell when it's cold." It had been a long time since she had a full meal. Su Jiao put her sister down and let her lie on a piece of fur at the side. She took the roasted meat from Yang Tian and started eating. At first, because it was hot, she was very polite. Later on, when it became cold, she couldn't care less about her face and started eating in big mouthfuls. Yang Tian looked at Su Jiao wolfing down the meat and passed some water to her. Slow down, there's still a lot here. Don't choke. Woo woo. Unexpectedly, Su Jiao suddenly threw down the roasted meat, covered her face, and cried. She had suffered too much in the past half a month. Now, she could finally cry to her heart's content. Yang Tian understood Su Jiao's current mood and didn't say anything to console her. He sliced off a large piece of roasted meat and tossed it to the little unicorn. The little unicorn opened its mouth and caught the roasted meat that was at least half a kilogram in weight. Then, he stood up and walked into a place where the light from the fire could not reach. Yang Tian knew that this guy must be trying to curry favor with the little blue dragon. He smiled and ate by himself. After crying for more than 10 minutes, Su Jiao finally stopped crying. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve and looked up at Yang Tian. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Yang Tian smiled. I understand. It's okay now. Are you still hungry? Hurry up and eat. And Su Jiao looked at Yang Tian with gratitude and nodded. Sister. At this moment, Su Fangrong woke up. Seeing Su Jiao sitting beside her, she happily called out and sat up. Little sister, you're finally awake. That's great. Su Jiao said happily when she saw her sister wake up. Then, she hugged Su Fangrong in her arms. Sister. Are you okay? I saw those two bad guys taking off your clothes. They're so bad. Su Fangrong said as she rested her head on Su Jiao's shoulder. Then, she broke away from her sister's embrace and looked at Yang Tian curiously. Sister, who is he? My name is Yang Tian. Yang Tian looked at Su Fangrong and smiled. You saved us? Su Fangrong blinked her big eyes and asked. What a smart little girl. Yang Tian thought. Because Su Fangrong guessed what happened after he fainted so quickly. Yes. Your sister wasn't bullied by the bad guys. I killed those two. Yang Tian nodded and said lightly. Thank you. Su Fangrong nodded at Yang Tian. I will repay you in the future. Hearing Su Fangrong's words, Yang Tian laughed. How will you repay me? Su Fangrong tilted her head and thought for a while. Then, she said seriously, when I grow up, I will marry you. Don't worry, I will be very beautiful. Ha ha ha. After Su Fangrong finished speaking, Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. Seeing Yang Tian laughing, Su Fangrong pouted and said unhappily, What are you laughing at? I'm telling the truth. I've memorized your name and appearance. When I grow up, I will definitely find you. Yang Tian stopped laughing and said, I already have a girlfriend. When I find her, I will marry her. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Su Fangrong frowned. Her eyes kept rolling as if she was thinking about something. After a while, she said, Then I will be your lover. Don't let your wife know. Too funny. Looking at Su Fangrong's serious expression, Yang Tian almost couldn't help but laugh again. He was afraid that he would make Su Fangrong unhappy, so he held back his laughter and said, Let's talk about it when you grow up. In the face of Yang Tian's perfunctory attitude, Su Fangrong snorted and turned her head away. Su Jiao looked at her sister talking to Yang Tian and couldn't help but laugh, but she didn't laugh out loud. Because she was very hungry, Su Fangrong smelled the aroma of barbecued meat. She turned her head and said to Yang Tian, I want to eat barbecued meat. Yang Tian nodded, cut a small piece, and handed it over. Woo woo, at this time, Little Unicorn came out of the darkness and came in front of Yang Tian. It rubbed against Yang Tian and cried, You really deserve it. Yang Tian patted Little Unicorn's head, cut a piece of meat, and stuffed it into Little Unicorn's mouth. Little Unicorn was satisfied with the meat in its mouth, and ran to the side to eat. Wow! What a beautiful Pegasus! Su Fangrong exclaimed with her eyes wide open. Girls were very fond of the snow-white Little Unicorn. Yang Tian was also very happy because he was even more certain that Qin Fei would like this unicorn. Su Fangrong stared at little unicorn for a while before asking Yang Tian, "Is its temper good? Can I go and touch it?" "Its temper is very good. It likes girls like you because it is also a girl." Yang Tian laughed. Su Fangrong rolled her eyes and asked Yang Tian for a piece of barbecued meat. She took the meat and walked towards Little Unicorn. It seemed like she wanted to use the meat to please Little Unicorn. "Tomorrow I will send you to Black Rock City." At this time, Yang Tian turned his head and looked at Su Jiao and said. Su Jiao hesitated for a while but said, "We don't have money to buy plane tickets." Su Jiao said and lowered her head in embarrassment. "Aren't you an enhancer?" Yang Tian asked. In Yang Tian's impression, people who had the money to eat beast cores to strengthen themselves were all rich people, even if they were not warriors. They had at least a few million yuan in asset. Su Jiao said, "We have money, but we lost our luggage and a lot of documents." Yang Tian immediately understood. He smiled and said, "No problem, I will do it for you." "Thank you so much," Su Jiao said gratefully. Chapter 103. With Yang Tian's escort, Su Jiao and Su Fangrong arrived safely at Black Rock City. Black Rock City was slightly smaller than Sky Majestic City. However, the entire city was surrounded by 100-meter-tall city walls. After entering the city, Su Jiao brought Yang Tian to Black Rock City's airport. The airport was very small, but it was filled with planes. It seemed very busy. When they entered the terminal, Yang Tian showed his martialist identification at the ticketing counter. "Ah, a level 8 martialist." The female ticketing agent exclaimed in surprise when she saw Yang Tian's martialist identification. It was no wonder that the ticketing agent was surprised. A level 8 martialist could be considered a top-notch martialist in this world. Who asked the majority of those level 9 martial artists to disappear. This martialist identification had been given to Yang Tian by housekeeper Wu. Given Yang Tian's strength, he didn't need to go to the dojo personally to get it verified. After all, he had defeated Du Xiongwu, a level 8 martialist, and Du Xiongwu had been a level 8 martialist at the time. To be able to defeat a level 8 martialist, one had to be at least a level 8 martialist. This was a logic that even a 3-year-old child knew. "I want 2 tickets to Wulan City," Yang Tian said nonchalantly, ignoring the surprised female ticketing agent. Su Jiao and Su Fangrong, who were standing by the side, also found out that Yang Tian was a level 8 martialist. They were even more surprised than the female ticketing agent. "Big brother Yang Tian, you are so awesome," Su Fangrong said in a worshipful tone as she looked at Yang Tian with stars in her eyes. When Su Fangrong called Yang Tian Big brother Yang Tian didn't object. He was only a few years older than Su Fangrong. He stroked Su Fangrong's head and smiled. The next flight to Wulan City had already been booked. The ticketing agent thought about it and apologized to Yang Tian. Then, she made a call to inform the higher-ups. Soon, the higher-ups gave the order. Yang Tian looked at the ticket seller who was making a phone call and kept saying yes, yes. He knew that the tickets were definitely available. Indeed, after the female ticketing agent put down the phone, she quickly printed 2 tickets and handed them to Yang Tian with both hands. "How much?" Yang Tian asked after taking the plane ticket. 1 million, the female ticketing agent replied. Yang Tian frowned. "Why is it so expensive?" The female ticketing agent replied respectfully, "Because this is a chartered flight. There will only be 2 passengers on the entire flight." Yang Tian understood and nodded. He took out his bank card and swiped it to pay the fare. A ticket from Black Rock City to Wulan City cost 50,000 martial coins. Since the flight was short, it could seat more than 30 people. Thus, a single trip would earn more than 1.5 million martial coins. Now that there were only 2 passengers on the flight, Yang Tian had gotten a bargain by charging him 1 million. Yang Tian looked at the time on the ticket. There was still half an hour left. Yang Tian could see the privileges of a martial artist from the way he bought the ticket. The higher the rank, the greater the privileges. While Yang Tian was buying the tickets, another plane had just taken off. It had taken off from Black Rock City's airport and was heading straight to Hero City. Of course, during the flight, it had to stop and refuel. This was a private plane that Du Xiongwen had booked for the family of Du Xiongwu, Zhu Shaoqing, and Du Mei. Apart from the 2 pilots, there were only the 3 of them on the plane. As for Du Xiongwen, he didn't take the plane because he had his Black Eagle pet beast. Sitting on the Black Eagle's back would allow him to fly back to Hero City. Plus, he did not have to worry about being attacked by other flying beasts or having the plane crash. The only downside was that the return journey would be much slower. The family of 3 remained silent as they looked at the white clouds outside the window. They had thought that things would gradually get better after they left Sky Majestic City. However, they had not expected that the plane would break down and that they would run into Yang Tian on the way back. Du Xiongwu looked like he had aged several years. He no longer had the fierce aura he had before. The repeated blows had drained him of his energy. For example, when he showed his proof that he was a level 6 martial artist, the airport ignored him. As for his younger brother, Du Xiongwen, after he showed his proof that he was a level 8 martial artist, the ticket agent was more enthusiastic than if he had seen his own mother. He quickly completed the procedures for the private plane. It was worth mentioning that Du Xiongwu was no longer a level 8 martial artist. Shenwei Martial Arts Hall had also withdrawn his proof of being a level 8 martial artist. Zhu Shaoqing, who was sitting at the side, had been leaning on Du Mei's shoulder. Her eyes were dull and swollen, as if she had been crying for a long time. Half an hour after the plane took off, Zhu Shaoqing came back to her senses. She looked at her husband sitting next to her and asked weakly, "Is there no one in this world who can defeat that Yang Tian?" Du Xiongwu heard Zhu Shaoqing's voice and turned to look at Zhu Shaoqing before closing his eyes. He thought for a moment, opened his eyes and said, "There is. Peak level 9 powerhouse, Frenzy." Frenzy? Zhu Shaoqing had never heard of this person's name and looked puzzled. Du Xiongwu nodded. Frenzy was a peak level 9 powerhouse 20 years ago. This person is both good and evil. As long as you can meet his conditions, he can help you kill anyone. And this person has not disappeared. He has been living in Hero City. When Zhu Shaoqing heard this, her eyes finally lit up. She sat up straight and gritted her teeth. "Then let's go find Frenzy. If Yang Tian doesn't die, I will not be happy for the rest of my life." Du Xiongwu wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he sighed helplessly. Why did it become like this? Du Xiongwu closed his eyes again and thought. There was always someone better than you. Yang Tian did not expect that a very powerful martial artist would appear in front of him. From this martial artist, he also learned that Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing had paid a price that they were unwilling to pay in order to invite this martial artist. At this time, Yang Tian, Su Jiao, and Su Fangrong were standing in front of a brand new jet. They were about to board. "Big brother Yang Tian, I will remember you. When I grow up, I will definitely come and find you." Su Fangrong held Yang Tian's hand, unwilling to let go. Her eyes were full of tears, and when she spoke, she sounded like she was about to cry. Yang Tian wiped away Su Fangrong's tears and said with a smile, "Okay. I will wait for you." Of course, Yang Tian did not believe the words of a child. Now, he just wanted to comfort Su Fangrong. Su Fangrong let go of Yang Tian's hand, raised her right hand and said, "Then, let's pinky promise." Yang Tian was helpless and made a pinky promise with Su Fangrong. "Yang Tian, goodbye." Su Jiao was very grateful to Yang Tian, but she did not know what to say at this time. She held her sister Su Fangrong's hand and said to Yang Tian, Yang Tian nodded. After watching the two sisters get on the plane and the plane take off, Yang Tian let out a long sigh. This matter was finally over. Chapter 104. This time, sending the Su sisters back had delayed Yang Tian for 6 to 7 days. Yang Tian didn't mind, because it was a good deed. He would never complain about doing too many good deeds. After exiting the terminal, Yang Tian directly left Black Rock City. He was too unfamiliar with this city, so he didn't want to stay here any longer. After leaving Black Rock City, Yang Tian met up with the little unicorn and the little blue dragon and continued on their journey. In the past 20 days, they hadn't even covered 1/10 of the journey. They still had to hunt some high-level beasts to raise their cultivation. They probably wouldn't reach Hero City in a year. They had to speed up. Yang Tian took out the map and looked at it. 5 days later, Yang Tian had arrived at the red circle marked on the map. This was the territory of a level 8 beast. As for what kind of beast it was, the map didn't say. High-level beasts were very smart. They would stay in one place for 1 or 2 years at most. They would only stay in one place for so long if the geographical conditions were good enough to ensure their safety and a source of food. Therefore, the map that Qin Lao gave Yang Tian had been updated. It wasn't a map that had existed for many years. Level 9 martial artists were too mysterious. They seemed to know more information than others. Yang Tian thought as he looked at the dense forest in front of him. Black Rock City's terrain was flat. There were no mountains. If high-level beasts wanted to hide, most of them would dig a hole in the forest and hide underground. Even powerful beasts had to adapt to the environment. The little blue dragon had already gone to check it out. Yang Tian was waiting for news. What kind of beast was it? Yang Tian guessed curiously. About half an hour after the little blue dragon left, a rumbling sound suddenly came from the forest in front of him. Immediately after, the ground started to shake. What a powerful sound! Yang Tian opened his eyes wide. He knew that this beast must be big, very big. Creak, creak, creak. A few minutes later, the little blue dragon returned and kept shouting at Yang Tian. A very big exotic beast, very, very big. This was the first time the little blue dragon had said that an exotic beast was very big. This was because the little blue dragon was also a huge creature after its transformation. The big it spoke of was not just big. Go and take a look. You stay here and look after my things, Yang Tian said as he patted Little Unicorn's head. Little Unicorn nodded. Yang Tian held his saber, and under the guidance of the little blue dragon, he sped towards the forest ahead. It was only a few kilometers away, and they soon reached the edge of the forest. At this time, the ground had already calmed down. It was no longer trembling, returning to its usual calmness. However, the low-level exotic beasts in the forest all rushed out of the forest in groups, looking very flustered. They were obviously frightened. Yang Tian wasn't even interested in attacking these low-level exotic beasts, such as the green python, black backwolf, silver light leopard, and so on. When these low-level exotic beasts saw Yang Tian, they also took a detour. Creak, creak. At this time, the little azure dragon cried out excitedly and sped up. Purring! Yang Tian stomped on the ground and jumped up. He had to bounce between the trees to catch up to the little blue dragon. Soon, the little blue dragon brought Yang Tian to the entrance of a cave with a diameter of 20 meters. The high-level exotic beasts here were indeed hiding underground. Yang Tian took the flashlight from his waist and shone it into the cave. The walls of the cave were very smooth and deep. The edges seemed to have been squeezed out from the inside out. Surrounding the cave entrance were circles of sand and sand. The layers were distinct, and each circle was higher than the last. It was obvious that the exotic beast hiding underground was constantly growing. How do I go down? Yang Tian furrowed his brow. He didn't bring such a long rope with him. Creak, creak. At this time, the little blue dragon cried out again and rushed down the cave walls like lightning. The little blue dragon planned to lure the exotic beast out. When the little blue dragon went deep into the cave, Yang Tian squatted down and touched the black soil on the cave walls with his hand. He discovered that there was a kind of liquid mixed in the soil. He put it to his nose and sniffed. There was also a faint fishy smell. Yang Tian was even more curious about the exotic beast in the cave. A few minutes later, the ground started to shake again, making a rumbling sound as if there was an earthquake. Yang Tian didn't feel it as he was far away earlier. However, now that the ground was shaking, he was swayed from side to side. Yang Tian pressed his legs down and lowered his center of gravity, stabilizing his body. Whoosh! At this time, the sound of the wind could be heard. A violent air current rushed out of the cave. This strong air current carried a rotten smell. It was very unpleasant. Creak, creak. At this time, a green shadow flashed. The little blue dragon rushed out of the cave and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder, crying out excitedly. Just as the little blue dragon came out, the exotic beast in the cave finally rushed out of the cave entrance. Fleshy tentacles? No. What appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes was a blood-red, soft thing covered in thin armor. Its diameter was more than 20 meters, the same as the diameter of the cave. As soon as the exotic beast appeared, its thick body kept rushing out. When it was more than 30 meters out of the cave entrance, it suddenly slapped at Yang Tian. Yang Tian stomped on the ground and dodged. Boom! With a loud sound, the exotic beast's body slammed into the ground. It directly broke a few trees that were as thick as a person's waist, creating a ditch that was several meters deep and 2 meters long. At this time, the exotic beast's body was still rushing out. A few minutes later, the exotic beast finally appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. It was actually a huge earthworm. That's right. It was an earthworm. Yang Tian had seen this kind of mollusk when he was young by the ditch near the city gate. Logically speaking, earthworms should not have mutated into exotic beasts. But now, such a huge earthworm had appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. Its body was more than 20 meters in diameter and several hundred meters in length. After it came out of the cave, it coiled up like a mountain of flesh. When the earthworm came out, Yang Tian kept retreating. He retreated more than 50 meters from the cave entrance before stopping. How should he kill it? Yang Tian looked at the huge earthworm and a feeling of helplessness rose in his heart. Earthworms had extremely strong vitality. Even if it was cut into several pieces, it could still survive and become several more earthworms. Needless to say, this level 8 earthworm most likely also had this ability. The YS virus mutated exotic beasts and strengthened their abilities. At the same time, it also gave them new abilities. While Yang Tian was thinking, the earthworm opened its soft mouth and suddenly covered Yang Tian. Chapter 105. This enormous earthworm's mouth had no teeth. It was 10-some meters wide, and its insides were red and covered in liquid. Yang Tian once more dodged. Bang! The earthworm's head collided with the ground, creating a loud sound. Sand and stones on the ground flew up and covered Yang Tian's body. Although he didn't know how to kill this earthworm, Yang Tian still raised his saber, arriving in front of the enormous earthworm and stabbing it. Squelch! The saber easily pierced through the earthworm's skin, going all the way to the hilt. After stabbing once, Yang Tian pulled out the saber and retreated. The saber didn't seem to have any effect on the enormous earthworm. It wriggled its body and opened its mouth once more, wanting to swallow Yang Tian. Earthworms were creatures that devoured rotten matter. Since when did they want to eat living things? Yang Tian thought to himself as he dodged once more. With another boom, the enormous earthworm's head once more dug out a several-meter-deep hole in the ground. This fellow's skin was simply too thick. Even if the saber was twice as long, it still wouldn't be able to injure it. Yang Tian frowned in thought, then sheathed the saber. With a toss, the saber flew out of his hand and stabbed into a tree 10 meters away. After dodging the enormous earthworm's mouth once more, Yang Tian controlled the energy of the dragon pearl to fill his arms. Very quickly, Yang Tian's arms transformed into a pair of dragon claws. The transformation of Yang Tian's arms was extremely fast. After dodging 3 times, the transformation was completed, taking around 2 minutes. Yang Tian was becoming more and more proficient in this sort of transformation. After dodging the enormous earthworm's attempt to swallow him, Yang Tian raised his claws and jumped onto the enormous earthworm's body, rapidly waving them. Squelch, 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 squelch. In just a few dozen seconds, Yang Tian had created a large hole in the enormous earthworm's body. Red blood quickly seeped out, drenching Yang Tian's entire body. Rumble, perhaps because it felt the intense pain, the enormous earthworm fiercely flipped its body. Yang Tian had no choice but to give up and jump to the ground. Very quickly, something that shocked Yang Tian happened. When he dodged to the side, the large wound that he had created on the enormous earthworm was rapidly healing. The surrounding flesh wriggled, and the wound became smaller and smaller. After the enormous earthworm rolled a few times, the wound had completely disappeared. It was just that the color of the wound was lighter, and there were no scales on it. What powerful recovery abilities! How was he going to kill it? Yang Tian felt helpless when he saw the situation. His previous attacks seemed to have been in vain. At this moment, the giant earthworm suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a ball of white liquid. Another means of attack. Yang Tian quickly dodged, fearing that the white liquid was poisonous. The liquid fell to the ground and sputtered. Some of the liquid hit Yang Tian. Yang Tian's legs kicked the ground again and dodged. However, some of the liquid still landed on him. Fortunately, the liquid was not poisonous. When it touched his clothes, it did not corrode them. However, this liquid was very sticky. If he was wrapped in this large mass of liquid, his movements would be greatly affected, and he would be devoured by the enormous earthworm. After Yang Tian dodged, the enormous earthworm once again spat out a mass of liquid at Yang Tian. This mass of liquid was not much for the enormous earthworm. However, for Yang Tian, it was as much as the amount of water in a small bathtub. It was just like how a human's saliva could drown an ant. Yang Tian dodged again. How can I kill it? At this time, Yang Tian's brain was constantly thinking. Squeak! The little blue dragon screamed twice, then jumped down from Yang Tian's shoulder and rushed to the giant earthworm. It climbed onto the giant earthworm's body and raised its claws to scratch. Soon, the little blue dragon scratched a bloody hole in the giant earthworm's body. Under the pain, the giant earthworm rolled again. The little blue dragon was unmoved. Soon, its body entered the giant earthworm's flesh. No matter how the giant earthworm rolled, it could not hurt the little blue dragon. From its inside? Yang Tian thought. Suddenly, a bold idea came into his mind. As soon as this idea came out, Yang Tian thought about it. He felt that although it was risky, it was worth a try. Xiaolong, come back! Yang Tian shouted. Squeak! The little blue dragon screamed twice, and with a flash, it appeared on Yang Tian's shoulder again. After the little blue dragon left, the giant earthworm's wound healed again. Then, the giant earthworm opened its mouth again and covered Yang Tian. This time, Yang Tian did not dodge and let the giant earthworm swallow him into its mouth. As soon as he entered the giant earthworm's mouth, a nauseating stench irritated Yang Tian and almost made him vomit. The giant earthworm's mouth began to shrink and squeezed Yang Tian. This contraction started from the mouth and extended into the body. Yang Tian's body was squeezed and moved quickly into the giant earthworm's body. Yang Tian quickly took out the flashlight from his waist, turned on the switch, and shone it into the giant earthworm's internal organs. In fact, the earthworm's internal organs were very simple and not that complicated. After the food was swallowed into the stomach, it was a straight intestinal organ. After digesting the food, it was discharged from the tail. Gulu gulu. At this moment, Yang Tian heard a faint sound of something flowing in the side of the giant earthworm. Yang Tian laughed happily. He finally knew the giant earthworm's weakness. Any creature has a weakness. Just like a machine, it must have a power system, just like the human heart. And this giant earthworm must also have internal organs. It was not easy to find them outside, but it was much easier to find them inside its body. Because the outside of this giant earthworm's body was too thick. Yang Tian bit the flashlight in his mouth, raised his claws, and scratched the flesh wall quickly in the direction of the sound. Rumble. When Yang Tian started, the giant earthworm felt a strong pain and rolled again, squeezing Yang Tian's body tighter and tighter. In the process of scratching, Yang Tian clearly felt that the inside of this giant earthworm's body was harder than the outer skin and was comparable to rock. Fortunately, his hands could turn into the indestructible dragon claws. If other martial artists were swallowed into the stomach of this giant earthworm, only death would await them. Even a level 8 martial artist would not be spared unless they planned to let this giant earthworm swallow a large amount of explosives and then detonate them. Chapter 106. When the flesh squeezed tighter and tighter, and Yang Tian was almost out of breath, he finally broke through a layer of flesh that was several feet thick, and his whole body was submerged in it. At this time, Yang Tian was facing a situation where he lacked oxygen. There was not enough oxygen in the giant earthworm's flesh for him to breathe. Yang Tian held his breath and moved towards the place where the sound came from. During this process, he could feel that the giant earthworm was constantly rolling, and even using its body to constantly beat the ground. Boom, boom, boom. From outside there was a constant roar. Yang Tian's body was also vibrating and rolling along with the giant earthworm's body. After more than 10 minutes, the grumbling sound became clearer and clearer, and it was only a few meters away from Yang Tian. At this time, because of the lack of oxygen, Yang Tian felt dizzy. Yang Tian knew that with his physique, he could only hold on for more than 10 minutes at most. Fortunately, after breaking through the hard layer of flesh, it was all soft and soft meat. The density of the meat was even thinner than the density of the human muscle. Yang Tian's speed was also much faster. Poof! At that moment, Yang Tian suddenly grabbed a tube-shaped object and broke it. Although his eyes were closed, he could still feel the blood in front of him. Blood vessels! Yang Tian was happy, and he opened the blood vessel wall and went in. The diameter of this giant earthworm's body was more than 20 meters, and the main blood vessels in its body were also big enough for a person to pass through. After entering the blood vessels of the giant earthworm, Yang Tian realized that the grumbling sound he heard was actually the sound of blood flowing. When he entered the blood vessels, he flowed along with the blood. Purring, purring, purring. At this time, there was a sound that sounded like an explosion. Every time it sounded, the blood also fluctuated. This must be the heart organ of the giant earthworm. Yang Tian did not have time to think, because his body flowed along with the blood, quickly approaching the pung, pung sound. Bang! After more than a minute, Yang Tian suddenly heard a roar like thunder. At the same time, he felt the pressure outside suddenly increase, and the speed of his blood flow increased. This was the heart of the giant earthworm. Yang Tian immediately reacted and unfolded his body. He reached out and grabbed something flexible with his left hand, so he quickly grabbed it. At this moment, Yang Tian felt the little blue dragon, who had been lying on his shoulder, bounced off his shoulder and left his body. This was the critical moment. Yang Tian knew that if he was squeezed out of the giant earthworm's heart, he would have to leave through the blood vessels. He had to break through the giant earthworm's skin and flesh within a few minutes. Otherwise, he would be suffocated inside the giant earthworm's body. Bang! At this moment, another explosion resounded in Yang Tian's ears. Blood was squeezed into his ears, causing him to feel pain in his eardrums. If this were to happen a few more times, he would probably become deaf. Yang Tian grasped the thing in his hand tightly with his left hand and used his right hand to stab into the giant earthworm's heart with his sharp claws. He then bent his claws and hooked onto the flesh of the heart organ. While the blood flow slowed down, he released his left hand, put his 5 fingers together, and stabbed again. Then, he used his right hand to pull hard and pulled out a large piece of flesh from the giant earthworm's heart. The giant earthworm struggled even more violently, and Yang Tian felt his body spinning non-stop. This giant earthworm was different from what Yang Tian had imagined. It was probably because of the YS virus that it had evolved to a higher level than before. It actually had an organ like a heart. He did not know if this was the case for ordinary earthworms. Anyway, he had to destroy it first. Also, after destroying this heart organ, Yang Tian did not care if this giant earthworm could survive. Bang! At this time, the giant earthworm's heart organ vibrated again, and Yang Tian was almost washed away by the rapid flow of blood. When the blood flow slowed down, Yang Tian moved again. At this time, Yang Tian heard scratching sounds coming from the side. Obviously, the little blue dragon was moving its claws. The little blue dragon obviously had an advantage over Yang Tian in this kind of thing, because it could hold itself in place with its 2 hind claws. 1 claw, 2 claw, 3 claw. Yang Tian counted silently in his heart. The giant earthworm's heart organ was weaker than Yang Tian had imagined. After dozens of claws, this huge organ was finally pierced through by him. When this huge heart organ vibrated again, Yang Tian's body was squeezed out of the hole he had made. When Yang Tian's body was squeezed out, the blood surrounding him disappeared. Yang Tian's body relaxed, and a familiar scene appeared in front of him again. He had returned to the giant earthworm's digestive tract. Yang Tian hurriedly took a few deep breaths, and his mind became clear. After the situation just now, Yang Tian felt that this stinky air was so fresh. Squeak, squeak. At this time, the little blue dragon also came out of the digestive tract that Yang Tian had grabbed and cried out excitedly. Bang! The giant earthworm's heart organ vibrated again, and a large amount of blood gushed out of the broken hole. Yang Tian quickly inserted his claws into the giant earthworm's digestive tract to avoid being washed away by the blood. The giant earthworm felt Yang Tian's existence in its digestive tract at this time. It was unknown whether it was instinctive or it was consciously controlling it, but the digestive tract began to squeeze again. Yang Tian had no choice but to go in through the broken hole again. Once, twice, thrice Yang Tian and the giant earthworm wasted time. After more than 10 times, the hole that Yang Tian had made was getting bigger and bigger, and a large amount of blood had flowed into the giant earthworm's digestive tract. If Yang Tian was outside the giant earthworm's body at this time, he could see the giant earthworm rolling and entangling its body while spitting out dark red blood. Although the giant earthworm's self-healing ability was very strong, it did not include its own heart organ. After Yang Tian destroyed a large area of it, its beating became slower and slower, and finally stopped. At this time, Yang Tian did not give up. While the blood in the digestive tract was not full yet, he destroyed as much as possible and scratched the giant heart organ until it was full of holes. When Yang Tian felt that it was enough, he rushed out of the giant earthworm's body as it spat out blood again. As soon as he landed, Yang Tian ran to the side. At this time, the giant earthworm had shrunk into a ball due to a large amount of blood loss and the destruction of its heart organ. It had become weak. Even if it found Yang Tian, it did not have the strength to attack Yang Tian again. Yang Tian breathed a sigh of relief and sat on the ground. The giant earthworm in front of him was most likely finished. Sure enough, after half an hour, the giant earthworm finally stopped moving and finally died. Chapter 107. Where was the beast core in such a big fellow? This was a huge problem for the martial artists in the sky. This was because the head of this giant earthworm was simply too big. It would take a very long time to find a finger-sized beast core in a mountain of flesh. The little blue dragon could sense the location of the beast core. It was much easier for Yang Tian to find the level 8 beast core. Squeak squeak! Yang Tian had just stood up when the little blue dragon started squeaking. The little blue dragon told Yang Tian that someone was coming. After reminding Yang Tian, it climbed onto a big tree and curiously looked in the direction of the sound. This place wasn't very far from Black Rock City. Even if warriors came, it wouldn't be a strange thing. When Yang Tian was fighting with the giant earthworm, the commotion was very loud and the sound traveled very far. When the nearby warriors heard it, they naturally rushed over to take a look. Actually, Yang Tian would find it strange if no one came. Yang Tian dispersed the power of the dragon orb that had gathered in his hands. His hands changed from dragon claws to a pair of hands. He slowly walked in front of a big tree and pulled out the saber that was previously stuck in the tree. After pulling out the saber, Yang Tian sat on a fallen tree and waited quietly. Squeak squeak! A few minutes later, the sound of light footsteps came from the forest in front of him. These footsteps were very light and slow. From these footsteps, Yang Tian could tell that the warriors who came here were very careful. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. Yang Tian relied on his hearing to determine the number of people. There were a total of 5 people, and the warriors' realms were very high. When these people walked, they controlled the strength of their footsteps very well. When they were about 50 meters away from Yang Tian heard the sound of their footstep. 5 people, 3 men and 2 women, soon appeared in front of Yang Tian. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man with short hair. His upper body was bare, and he had a strong body. The lines of his muscles were very smooth, and one could tell at a glance that he contained powerful energy. He carried a large alloy bow on his back, and a sword quiver hung from his waist. The quiver was filled with black arrows. In addition to the bow, this person also had a long saber. His aura was even stronger than Zhao Xuanxing's. He should be able to break through to the 8th level soon. Behind the short-haired middle-aged man were 2 young men. They were about 27 or 28 years old. They looked ordinary and wore black leather armor. Judging from their aura, they should be level 6 warriors. The weapons used by both of them were long swords. The scabbards were slightly curved, like the Japanese katanas. Finally, there were 2 young women. They had good figures, but their skin was a little dark. They looked to be in their late 20s. One of them had a ponytail while the other had short hair. They were also wearing black leather armor. These 2 women were also level 6 warriors. The short-haired woman had a saber pouch hanging from her waist. It was full of small knives with a red scarf tied to it. It seemed that she was good at using flying knives. In addition to the flying knives, there was a 2-foot-long short saber hanging from the other side of the woman's waist. The other woman had a ponytail and a circle of silver-white thin silk tied around her wrist. This reminded Yang Tian of the weapon used by Steward Wu. The 4 rank 6 martialists were also the youngest rank 6 martialists that Yang Tian had ever seen. This team of 5 people, 1 was at the peak of level 7 and 4 were level 6 warriors. They were the strongest team of warriors that Yang Tian had ever seen. After the 5 people came out of the woods, they first looked at the giant earthworm's body and then walked straight to Yang Tian. Yang Tian wiped the blood from his face and stared at the 5 people. The strongest of the 5 was only at the peak of level 7. Although there were more of them, it would not be difficult for Yang Tian to defeat them. However, Yang Tian did not underestimate them. Although it was rare for a warrior to kill a warrior of a higher level, it had happened before. A gust of wind blew past and the earthworm blood on Yang Tian's body dried up, making him feel uncomfortable all over. If not for the arrival of these 5 people, he would have already taken the beast core and found a place to take a bath and change his clothes. The 5 people walked straight to Yang Tian and stopped about 10 meters away. This was a safe distance between warriors. Under normal circumstances, strangers would not greet each other. Crossing this safe distance was considered a sign of an attack. "Brother, did you kill this exotic beast?" At this moment, the middle-aged man asked Yang Tian in a proud tone. "Yes." Yang Tian nodded. Although Yang Tian had the strength of a level 8 warrior, in reality, he was only a level 7 enhancer. His body naturally exuded the aura of a level 7 warrior. Between cultivators, age did not matter. Only strength mattered, especially between unfamiliar cultivators. Powerful cultivators would always have a sense of superiority when dealing with cultivators of a lower realm than them. Also, these 5 people obviously had bad intentions towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian had already guessed that this middle-aged man in front of him definitely wanted to obtain a level 8 beast core from him to raise his own level. These were the reasons why the middle-aged man's attitude towards Yang Tian was bad. If this middle-aged man knew that this young man in front of him was the famous Yang Tian, he would definitely not speak to Yang Tian in such a tone. The circle of warriors was actually very small, especially the high-level ones. In Tianxiong City, the news of Yang Tian defeating the level 8 warrior Du Xiongwu had already spread. "This giant worm is a level 8 beast?" the middle-aged man asked again. "Yes." Yang Tian nodded again. Yang Tian was very calm, which made the middle-aged man feel a little strange. He asked again, "What's your name?" "Gamma Cygni, Mu as in wood, and air as in 1, 2, 3, Yang Tian replied. He originally wanted to say his real name, but suddenly changed his mind. He wanted to see what this person wanted to do to him. At this time, Yang Tian also wanted to play around with these people. He felt that it was a little fun, like playing a pig to eat a tiger. Yang Tian was still young, and young people were always playful. Gamma Cygni. The middle-aged man repeated Yang Tian's name and shook his head slightly as he looked at Yang Tian. There was a trace of undetectable excitement in his eyes. He was very sure that there was no level 7 martialist called Gamma Cygni in Black Rock City. In that case, this person must have come from another city. This made things easier. "Hand over the level 8 beast core and I'll let you go," the middle-aged man suddenly said as he looked into Yang Tian's eyes. As he said this, the middle-aged man wanted to see panic, fear, or nervousness in Yang Tian's eyes. However, Yang Tian still appeared very calm. Yang Tian pointed calmly at the dead giant worm that looked like a mountain of flesh. "The beast core hasn't been extracted yet. You guys do as you see fit." Chapter 108. Thank you, Li Junyang and the other readers for your tips. I can see your names on the fan list. Thank you for your support. At the same time, thank you to the readers who liked this book. Yang Tian's straightforwardness made the middle-aged man very surprised. However, when he turned around and looked at the giant earthworm's corpse, he understood that it wouldn't be so easy to find a beast core from such a huge exotic beast. They had come at the right time. More than 10 minutes ago, they had felt the ground tremble. At that time, the giant earthworm hadn't died yet. The middle-aged man frowned and turned around, signaling his 4 companions with his eyes. The 4 of them nodded at the middle-aged man and walked towards the giant earthworm's corpse. The 4 of them walked around the giant earthworm's corpse and found the giant earthworm's head. When they found that there was no cut on it, they pulled out their own knives and continuously hacked at the giant earthworm's head, making piu-piu-piu sounds. Yang Tian leaned on his knife and watched calmly. After the middle-aged man stared for a while, and confirmed that Yang Tian wouldn't make a move on them for the time being, he also turned around and joined the team looking for the beast core. The actions of his 4 companions also told the middle-aged man that there was a high possibility that the level 8 beast core hadn't been taken away yet. The temptation of the level 8 beast core made the middle-aged man not think too much about Yang Tian's intentions. In fact, Yang Tian didn't know where the beast core was in the giant earthworm's body, because these people had arrived before the little blue dragon could tell him. The timing of their arrival was very good. If these people really found it, he would just take it away. These 5 people were still no match for Yang Tian. If it was any other exotic beast, it would be very easy to determine the location of the beast core. However, this giant earthworm was different. It had no bones in its body. After death, it was just a pile of soft flesh. If one wanted to find the beast core in its body, they would have to cut off pieces of flesh and search carefully. It was like looking for a small gold grain in a pile of sand. Cutting off the flesh piece by piece and carefully sifting through it. This was a very heavy job. Yang Tian continued to watch calmly, and did not seem to have any intention of leaving. This caused the 5 of them to be somewhat distracted. However, they wouldn't allow Yang Tian to leave, because they weren't sure if Yang Tian had already taken the beast cores from the exotic beast. However, after the 5 of them observed, this exotic beast had just died not too long ago. They had arrived just in time. Yang Tian shouldn't have taken away the beast core so quickly. The 5 of them were actually very conflicted. Yang Tian didn't care about this. He just sat at the side and wanted to see how busy they were. The harder they worked, the happier Yang Tian was. If they wanted to snatch the fruits of victory from others, they had to pay a price. Half a day passed quickly, and the sky was about to turn dark. During this process, Yang Tian appeared to be very obedient to the 5 of them. Other than sitting there, he only stood up and stretched his limbs. He did not do anything excessive. "Big brother, this won't do. It's been a few hours, and we haven't even found the shadow of the beast core. Did he take the beast core away? Look, there aren't any wounds on the surface of this giant earthworm. He must have drilled into the giant earthworm's body to kill it." At this time, the middle-aged man and the short-haired young man next to him looked up at the sky and said with a frown. His meaning was very clear. The beast core was very likely taken away by Yang Tian. Moreover, it was taken from the giant earthworm's body. Other than the fact that there weren't any wounds on the giant earthworm's body, Yang Tian was still covered in blood. The middle-aged man turned to look at Yang Tian and said, "Then what do you think we should do?" The young man raised his hand and made a throat-slitting gesture, meaning that they should get rid of Yang Tian first. This way, whether the beast core was taken away by Yang Tian or left in the exotic beast's body, the result would be the same. The middle-aged man hesitated. Kill Yang Tian? This was a good idea. In fact, he wanted to do this at first, but seeing Yang Tian's calm appearance, he changed his mind. Because Yang Tian was also a level 7 martial artist, if they fought, it would be hard to say who would win, although he thought that he was more skilled. The higher the level of a martial artist, the more careful they would be when facing an enemy. This was because they had rich combat experience. They had seen too many cases of the weak defeating the strong, or the weak using tricks to defeat the strong. The middle-aged man recalled at this time. Suddenly, he felt like he had been played by Yang Tian. He had been leisurely watching the show from the sidelines. A kind of anger suddenly rose in the middle-aged man's heart. Until now, no one had dared to play with him. The middle-aged man looked at Yang Tian again, then walked towards Yang Tian with a gloomy face while holding his knife. 2 young men and 2 women stopped what they were doing at the same time and followed behind the middle-aged man. They knew what the middle-aged man wanted to do next. Seeing the 5 of them walking towards him, Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. These 5 people finally couldn't help but react. Yang Tian pulled out the knife in his hand and flicked it with his finger. Ing 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 ing, the smooth blade let out a soft hum. Kid, you dare to play with us? After stopping 10 meters away from Yang Tian, the middle-aged man pointed his knife at Yang Tian and sneered. Yang Tian looked at the middle-aged man and laughed. I don't even know who you are and what your names are. Why would I play with you? Because we want to steal your beast core. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, a young man standing behind the middle-aged man followed up. Yang Tian nodded with a look of sudden realization. That's right. You want to steal from me, so it's normal for me to play with you. Greed can turn a person into an idiot. Just now, I saw the 5 of you idiots chopping at a pile of soft meat. That look. TSK. It would be great if I could take a picture of it. I remember that the Warrior Auxiliary tool has this function. Pung. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, the middle-aged man, who was already unable to restrain his anger, stomped hard on the ground. In a flash, he appeared in front of Yang Tian and slashed at Yang Tian with his knife. However, Yang Tian immediately dodged, causing the middle-aged man's knife to hit nothing. After the knife hit nothing, the middle-aged man didn't continue to attack. He turned his head and looked coldly at Yang Tian, who was standing at the side, and said indifferently, Until now, no one has dared to play with me, Wang Kun. You're the first, so you're dead meat. Wang Kun? This name was very unfamiliar to Yang Tian. In the circle of warriors, Yang Tian hadn't been around for long. Usually, he didn't pay attention to others, so it was normal that he didn't know about Wang Kun. However, almost everyone in Black Rock City knew about Wang Kun and the small team he led. Chapter 109. If he didn't know, he could check. Yang Tian took out his martial arts assistive device from his pocket. As Yang Tian's hands needed to transform, he wasn't like other martial artists who could always wear their martial arts assistive devices on their wrist. After taking out his martial arts assistive device, Yang Tian pressed a button on it and said, Connect to the internet. Who is Wang Kun from Black Rock City? Seeing that Yang Tian wanted to check his information, Wang Kun didn't stop him. Soon, Yang Tian's martial arts assistive device rang and reported the information of martial artist Wang Kun. It was a great honor for a martial artist to be mentioned on the internet and have their information posted, as it represented a kind of strength. Only martial artists with low strength and unknown martial artists were hard to find. Although humans were threatened by mutated beasts and could only stay in the cities, the wireless communication between the various cities was not cut off. The wireless signal connected the entire world closely together. Black Rock City, Wang Kun, 42 years old, peak level 7 martial artist, formed a small team of 5 known as the Death Team. Wang Kun has 4 level 6 martial artists under his command, Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei. The Death Team has committed many evil deeds and is very strong. According to statistics, they have stolen beast cores 103 times and killed 70 martial artists and 207 civilians. The information about Yang Tian's martial arts assistive device was obtained from searching on the internet. It wasn't directly extracted from the martial artist database. When it reported the information, the martial arts assistive device's voice was intermittent. Most of the information was from comments made by other martial artists on the internet and information about Wang Kun. When Yang Tian heard that these 5 people had killed 207 civilians, Yang Tian raised his head and looked coldly at Wang Kun. What Yang Tian hated the most was when martial artists used their martial prowess to bully and kill ordinary people without any martial prowess. The information reported by the martial arts assistive device wasn't accurate. It could be too much or too little. However, even if they had only killed an ordinary person without any strength, Yang Tian would still make them pay the price. Seeing Yang Tian's martial arts assistive device report the information about himself and the Death Team, Wang Kuan was still expressionless. However, the 4 people behind him couldn't help but look pleased. To them, this information was a great achievement. What made them feel a little regretful was that the information didn't mention how many high-level martial artists they had killed. One had to know that at least a dozen level 6 warriors and 2 level 7 warriors had died in their hand. They believed that if Yang Tian heard this information, he would definitely be afraid. Maybe he would obediently hand over the level 8 beast core he had obtained. The death team was very famous in Black Rock City. Any martial artist below level 8 would be very respectful when they saw them. However, Yang Tian turned off the martial arts assistive device very quickly, leaving them disappointed. My name is actually not Gamma Cygni, Yang Tian said coolly as he turned off the martial arts assistive device and looked coldly at Wang Kuan. As Yang Tian said this, Wang Kuan felt a sudden sharp aura emanating from Yang Tian's body. It was like a sharp knife that was filled with a dangerous aura. Wang Kuan stopped looking down on Yang Tian. He knew that if Yang Tian knew that he was a peak level 7 martial artist, he would definitely be able to defeat him and his death team. If your name is not Gamma Cygni, then what is it? Wang Kuan asked seriously. My name is Yang Tian, Yang Tian said coolly. Yang Tian? What a familiar name. Yang Tian. When Yang Tian announced his real name, Wang Kuan muttered Yang Tian's name softly. Suddenly, Wang Kuan's eyes widened. He finally remembered who Yang Tian was. The young man in front of him looked exactly like the young man he had seen on the internet. Previously, the hottest topic in the martial arts circle was the battle where Yang Tian defeated Du Xiongwu. You are Yang Tian, a level 8 martial artist from Tianxiong City, Wang Kuan suddenly said in surprise. Yang Tian curled his lips and nodded. After seeing that Wang Kuan knew who he was, Yang Tian's vanity was greatly satisfied. This was a normal phenomenon. Any normal person would have a sense of vanity. Haha. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. We will leave now. We will leave now. Wang Kuan saw the murderous look in Yang Tian's eyes and couldn't help but panic. He laughed and said. As he spoke, he slowly retreated, afraid that Yang Tian would suddenly attack them. A level 7 martial artist was far from being a match for a level 8 martial artist. Even if a few level 7 martial artists joined forces, they would not be able to defeat a level 8 martial artist. The difference in strength between the two realms was like the difference between an ordinary person and an enhancer. Even if Wang Kuan was at the peak of level 7, he would still be a level 7 martial artist. It was impossible for him to compete with a level 8 martial artist. As Wang Kuan retreated, Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei behind him also retreated. When they found out that Yang Tian was a level 8 martial artist, they felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. They knew that they had kicked an iron plate this time. As their ancestors said, if you walk in the dark for a long time, you will meet a ghost. Under Yang Tian's cold gaze, Wang Kuan and the others retreated more than 10 meters. When they thought that Yang Tian would let them go, they heard Yang Tian say coldly, "You have committed a heinous crime. Today you must die." To Yang Tian, killing innocent humans was an unforgivable crime for a martial artist. This was Yang Tian's principle as a martial artist. Without strength, Yang Tian could not do anything. But now that he was a top martial artist, he always felt that he had to do something for this world. If possible, then he would change the rules of the game of this world. Yang Tian knew that his actions would most likely be mocked by others in the future, saying that he was meddling in other people's business. But Yang Tian did not care at all, because he knew that what he was doing was right. In this world, there had to be someone who would stand up for injustice. If no one cares, then let me do it. Hearing Yang Tian's cold words, Wang Kuan, Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei could not help but be horrified. Their bodies involuntarily trembled as the shadow of death shrouded their hearts. However, although the 5 of them were afraid, they would not surrender without a fight. They would allow Yang Tian to cut their neck. Wang Kun turned his head and glanced at the 4 of them. Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei nodded at the same time. They understood the meaning of Wang Kun's eyes. Suddenly, Wang Kun turned his head and smiled at Yang Tian. He took off the bow on his back and quickly drew an arrow. With a pull of the bow, the black arrow left the bowstring. Xiao! The black arrow whistled toward Yang Tian. Yang Tian tilted his head and dodged. Bang! The black arrow missed and hit a big tree behind Yang Tian. It actually exploded and blew up a big tree as thick as a person's waist. He did not expect that Wang Kun's black arrow, which looked like a triangular metal arrowhead, was actually a small bomb. It would explode when it encountered a strong collision. Fortunately, Yang Tian did not think of using a knife to split the black arrow. Otherwise, such a strong explosion would definitely hurt him. This kind of attack was really creative. Chapter 110. At the same time that Wang Kun shot the arrow, the short-haired woman flung 3 flying daggers at Yang Tian. The strength of a level 6 fighter was very strong. The 3 flying daggers pierced through the air and flew towards Yang Tian in a triangular formation. At the same time, the 5 of them suddenly scattered and ran in different directions. Xiaolong, move out! Yang Tian knew that it was impossible for him to kill the 5 of them in a short period of time. This required the little blue dragon's help. Xiaolong? Wang Kun and the others, who were running away at top speed, didn't know who the Xiaolong that Yang Tian mentioned was, but they couldn't care less. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was to get out of here as soon as possible. They attacked Yang Tian just now because they wanted to delay Yang Tian's movement. Fighting with a level 8 martial artist, that was simply courting death. Only an idiot would do that. In Wang Kun's heart, he had the thought of fighting to the death with Yang Tian. This was because he knew that he would be the first person Yang Tian would kill. But he knew the character of his 4 subordinate. If they felt that something was wrong, they would definitely abandon him. So, he might as well run from the beginning and save some energy for a fight. Peng! Yang Tian stomped on the ground and shot out like a cannonball. Cheep cheep! At this time, the little blue dragon on a big tree beside them cried out excitedly. It turned into a green light and rushed towards a young man. Wang Kun's speed was very fast. At this time, he had already escaped into the forest. Peng! 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 Yang Tian relied on his powerful strength and reaction speed to bounce his body between the trees. When he was about to catch up with Wang Kun, the sword in his hand turned into a white line and his fast body swept past Wang Kun's side. Peng! Yang Tian fell to the ground. The force of the fall caused his feet to sink into the ground. At this time, Wang Kun's head suddenly tilted and fell to the ground. Blood spurted out from the smooth cut on his neck. The body that lost control fell to the ground and rolled a few times before coming to a stop. A level 7 fighter, even if he was at the peak, was not at the same level as Yang Tian. Whether it was strength or speed, the difference was too great. It was like a strong fighter could kill an ordinary person with one punch. Yang Tian only glanced at Wang Kun's body and then ran to the next target. Yang Tian rushed through the forest. With his keen hearing, he heard that one of the remaining 4 people was moving quickly in the forest not far away. In less than a minute, Yang Tian caught up with the target. This was one of the 2 women with a ponytail. Hearing that someone was chasing behind her, the woman was obviously panicked and accelerated her speed. Suddenly, the woman screamed and fell to the ground. Then, she circled around a big tree and rushed forward again. This woman's actions made Yang Tian feel a little strange. How could a level 6 fighter fall so easily? Yang Tian was suspicious and stopped. Hiss! At this time, in the wind, there was a burst of metal objects trembling. This sound was very soft. If Yang Tian did not have extremely strong hearing, he would not have noticed it. Yang Tian looked in the direction of the sound and a small white light flashed. Only then did he remember that there was a circle of very thin metal wire around the woman's wrist. What a powerful trap! Yang Tian was shocked. If he had not noticed that something was wrong and stopped, he would have hit those very thin metal wires. As a result, he would have been injured, and the injury would not have been light. Yang Tian's speed was very fast, but the faster he was, the stronger the cutting force of the metal wire on his body. Chi chi chi. Yang Tian took a few steps forward, raised his sword, and cut off the 3 metal wires in front of him. The 3 metal wires were obviously made of YT elemental alloy. When Yang Tian cut down, he met with strong resistance. A big tree next to him made a poof sound, and the metal wire sank deep into the trunk. Chi chi. At this time, the little blue dragon's cry sounded, and a green shadow appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. The little blue dragon jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. Squeak squeak squeak. Little Azure Dragon reported the results of its battle to Yang Tian. Under its claws, one was dead and one was injured. A young man's throat was slit while the short-haired woman lost both her eyeballs. Why don't you kill women? Yang Tian laughed. He did not care, and scratched the little blue dragon's body. There was another woman. Yang Tian looked in the direction that the woman disappeared, took a turn, and chased after her again. Huff! Huff! Yi Xian ran quickly, panting heavily. This was not because she did not have enough stamina, but because she was nervous. She knew that Yang Tian would catch up soon, and what awaited her was most likely death. Shrouded in the shadow of death, Yi Xian felt very tired. As for the trap she set, she did not have much hope. If a level 8 warrior could be killed by the trap she set, then he was not a level 8 warrior. She hoped to use the trap to slow down Yang Tian's advance, so that she would have enough time to escape. After a few minutes, Yi Xian ran out of the forest, and an open area appeared in front of her. Go back and tell the warriors of Black Rock City that if any warrior dares to kill innocent civilians, they will end up like Wang Kuan. At this time, Yi Xian heard Yang Tian's voice. Yi Xian stopped in her tracks in shock and slowly turned around. A gust of wind blew, and the leaves of the dense forest rustled. At this time, the sky had already darkened, and the dense forest was like the mouth of the grim reaper to her. It was very terrifying. I will pass the message to them. For a long time, Yang Tian appeared in front of Yi Xian. She knew that she had finally escaped death, and hurriedly replied loudly to the forest. Yang Tian said that he would not kill women, but this was not absolute. He originally wanted the little blue dragon to attack and kill this woman, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was better to leave one person alive, at least to let the other warriors know of his will. As for the other woman who was blinded by the little blue dragon, Yang Tian knew that she would not be able to return to Black Rock City alive. Using Yi Xian's mouth, Yang Tian wanted to announce his will to the whole world. This day would later be written down in history, and was regarded as the beginning of the new era of warriors. Of course, Yang Tian did not know that now, and he thought that he had only done a small thing. The next step was to go back and retrieve the beast core from the giant earthworm. Squeak, squeak, squeak! At this time, the little blue dragon cried out again, and told Yang Tian that it had sensed the existence of many beast cores. Many beast cores? Yang Tian was stunned for a moment, then laughed. When Wang Kuan and the others appeared in front of him, they did not bring their backpacks, so they must have left them in the forest, and there must be a large number of beast cores in their backpacks or on their bodies. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.